This program is a collaboration of personal opinions and individual free thought. It does not represent the views or narrative of the mainstream corporate media hacks. Viewer discretion is advised.
Live from the bell tower, taking a stand for your rights, your liberties, and all the bullshit in between. You're listening to Ring the Bell Podcast.
All right, welcome to the show that we suck all the time. Let's get Bill's audio in here while I try to pull his fucked up video in here. Bill, how's it going?
It's going well now. It's going good. It must be like a stereotype, like all gingers are good at tech, you know, because you're kind of like Scotty from Star Trek, watching you like work your magic and stuff.
If I was good at the tech, it would actually be working. So I don't agree with you at all. Let's turn that back
you're getting
down.
further than I am, or whatever.
I guess.
All
right, let's
Fuck
get.
it. We're doing it off phones.
All right, Bill, I
I'm
can
here.
see you. Can you guys hear with us now?
Give us a hell yeah if you can hear us.
Or did we just lose everybody? That's probably it. They're like, oh, this fucking sucks. We are back. We are here. It's the Break the Bell podcast, and as usual, things are sucking. I don't know why. Like my main monitor is gone. Like it didn't die. I just lost the freaking connector to it because I hate new laptops.
Yes.
They're coming with less and less ports, and you got to buy more and more adapters to go with them. That's just more shit to get lost.
I know.
Like I've got an adapter for the Ethernet. I've got 2 different adapters for HDMI, dual HDMI. You got an adapter for the big USB, like USB A. Yeah. Like, cause all this freaking stupid ass, expensive ass MacBook has with it is just 2 USB-C ports and everything else. So like, buy our adapters.
Yeah.
They're cheap.
That's.
Do you know how much at Best Buy this adapter comes with? A USB A, an HDMI, and then a power input so you can route the power.
Yeah.
You know how much that adapter costs?
$70.
Like 65, 70 bucks. Yeah. Just for that little piece of shit.
Yeah.
So that's where things are. Like I had a wedding that the MacBook was needed for, and I needed to play a video of the ceremony. And so I'm just like, I'll take my adapter with me. Well, the MacBook came back, but I have no idea. I'm sure it came back.
Yeah.
It's just probably in a pile of wedding shit somewhere. So
Yeah.
but we are here. That's all that matters, I guess.
Yes.
Things are going on. I don't even have my fucking notebook. My notes are not here.
Shit.
It's like upstairs. So
Get 'em.
I'll go get it when I play the intro video,
Okay.
I guess.
Okay.
So so we're on a roll. We're doing great. We got all kinds of trials going on. Last week we talked about trials. This week we're talking about trials as well.
Yeah, like trial shit.
Hunter Biden got convicted.
Yes. Yeah. You think they're going to give him the death penalty?
Oh, we can only hope. I mean, I didn't say that. So if you keep seeing me look up at the sky, it's because I'm looking at my alternate monitor that is way too. Why I put it that high, I don't fucking know.
It worked
seemed
at
like
the
a good
time.
idea at the time.
It was because I was the only one looking at it. You were like,
Yeah.
fuck you, Bill. You're looking up.
So now it just looks like I'm just like drifting off. So Hunter Biden went to trial. I mean, there's so many things. You remember when we talked about Trump last week? We're like, did they convict him of conspiracy to like overturn election? No. Did they convict him on sexual degradation?
Right.
No. Did they convict him on I don't know, what are some of the other like mishandling of documents?
Yeah, like trying to like defraud the people.
Yeah.
You know, just like
inciting
money laundering, inciting insurrection. Yeah.
No, they got him on writing bad checks.
Yeah.
And
Not even bad checks, mislabeled checks.
Yeah, mislabeled check. So this week with Hunter Biden, it's almost like just like you got our guy, we got yours, but they didn't get Biden,
Right?
of course, because remember he's too old to stand trial. So.
Right? Yeah, he's just a nice guy who doesn't have the mental capacity.
So they went after his son.
Mhm.
Obviously, did he get convicted of being a crackhead? No, I mean, not really, kind of, but not really. Did he get convicted of colluding with like outside governments?
Ukraine or China?
No. Money laundering? No.
Pedophilia?
No, none of that shit. Just this time was possessing a gun while being a crackhead.
Yeah.
So the crackhead does come into play a little bit, but he wasn't convicted of being a crackhead.
Right.
He was just convicted of possessing a
Right.
gun while being a crackhead.
Yeah.
So we got that to talk about a little bit. We'll see what this turns into. I wonder if Joe even knows like what's going on.
Yeah, I doubt it.
Like they say he hasn't been on any of the trials because he doesn't want to look like he's like pressuring
Oh,
or
sure,
like
right.
influencing
Why
the
would he do
judgment.
that?
I think it's more or less they didn't want him shitting his pants while he was in trial. Did you
Right.
see that recent video of him like out with the French president?
Yes, it was on
and
D-Day.
he like squats down
Mm-hmm. And then he got escorted off.
and he got escorted off. And
on D-Day.
people are like, "Oh, he just thought there was a chair behind him because nobody else around you was sitting down." And he just thought that, and that even if that were the case, even if that were true, that he was just had a moment where he's just like, "Oh, there's a chair behind me. I'm going to sit on it." Why'd they escort him off?
Right. Yeah.
Most likely scenario is he shit his pants. I mean, that's
absolutely.
the most
Yes,
most logical
Yeah.
explanation to that entire incident was he crapped in it. He did the doo-doo and they had to go get him cleaned up.
Yeah.
Now people are like, well, Donald Trump, everybody knows that he wears Depends and blah blah blah. Even if he did wear it, at least he's
his shit.
At
literally.
least at least he's keeping it contained where it
He's
needs
not
to be.
just like
You don't see him. If he is, I mean, he does a good job of hiding it. He's not he's like, and then I'm going to win the presidency.
Yeah.
And that's basically like, I feel like if we had audio of Joe Biden, we would have heard the grunting, the stomach gurgling, the ass gurgling, like
and
the
Jill's
bubbles.
probably like, "Fuck, Joe, come on."
Oh, you see her kind of like put her hand up to her face like this, like
no,
like,
he didn't.
or maybe she's trying to mask that she's covering her nose from. God, that smells so awful.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened. I can't just say that he.
As the leader of the free world, you should probably not drop a deuce on a historic landmark.
Definitely. I think that goes against some certain etiquette.
It needs to go
codes
in
of etiquette.
guidelines of if you're going to be president, you got to be 35. You know, you got to be a U.S. citizen, and don't drop a deuce at a national landmark.
Yes, exactly. I don't know. Do you think he pooped his pants?
I think that's the most likely situation.
I don't know. Maybe he was like trying to. Something happened there.
Yeah,
and it's not like a normal thing for a president to do in those situations. One way or another, something weird happened there. Whether he pooped his pants or just forgot that he didn't have a chair, or he was stumbling. This cord is bothersome right now, and I don't know where to put it. There we go. Everything. I'm flustered. Okay. I don't know. It's just not like, even there was other presidents like JFK. He had like severe back problems. He was like couldn't walk around much, but when he was on TV, he looked like a strong leader. And who was it Roosevelt that had the wheelchair?
Yeah, FDR.
And like they refused to like photograph or film, or like him having he made sure he was standing, like give the appearance of that I'm a strong leader. I don't have weakness. But Joe Biden,
Reagan had dementia.
Yeah, Reagan had dementia, and they like, at least what was his wife kind of carried the show for him.
Yeah.
But they didn't like parade him around.
Right. Yeah. And he was still had a good camera presence.
Like, I feel like Joe is being paraded around more now than he did in his first election in 2020.
Yeah. I agree.
Before, remember, they were hiding away in a basement.
Yeah.
I mean, make up some goddamn excuse.
Right.
Like, bring back another pandemic or something. I don't know.
He's trying.
Speaking of pandemics, we also have to talk about the latest, greatest pandemic that's about to hit our doorsteps, which is the bird flu this time.
Yes.
It made it had its thing back in the early 2000s.
I think so.
And then
it was during Obama's.
Well, that was a swine flu.
Oh, was it swine flu?
I remember in 2009 was the swine flu because I had to get tested for it.
Oh, okay.
Going to boot camp.
Gotcha.
Was swine flu, but bird flu was kind of a little bit before that.
Okay.
I think, I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't really care if I'm wrong, but it's back. It's back. Just like Joe Biden's shitty pants are back. Shannon gives a bunch of rainbow flags because yes, it is Pride Month. I forgot. How could I forget that?
I don't know how you could.
And says, but wasn't there but there wasn't the social media aspect of it. I understand there wasn't the social media aspect of, like, it would have been harder for JFK to hide his weaknesses and his flaws, and Roosevelt to hide his flaws. But this is on, like, this is on not just social media. This is on, like, national media coverage. This is on, like, live national television. It's not like somebody had a cell phone.
Worldwide.
Right.
Worldwide
this isn't like a cell phone cam that somebody happened to get a video of Joe Biden doing the duty in his britches. This is like national television. It's like, I don't know. I don't know what they're doing. Like, you can tell just like the way like, they never show him really walking anymore, because his old man shuffle has gotten bad. Yeah. Like, it's so bad. Yeah. Like, every time he walks, it looks like he just crapped his pants. That's how bad his walk is getting. Yeah. So I don't know.
How much longer can they literally limp him along?
After seeing that video this week, there's no way they run him. Yeah. There's just no way. Yeah. We had talked last week. You asked if I thought they would end up switching. They've got to be planning for it. They've got to be making the plan for it. It's like, dude, all you got to do is just poop your pants on stage. I know it's humiliating.
When's the DNC?
I don't know. That's a great question. Look it up.
All right.
Look it up, looker upper. But yeah, like, I feel like his one job now as president, his final duty is to get up there. They're like, we got to have an exit strategy.
Okay, August 19th through the 22nd.
All right, so we got a couple months left. How many times? We should take a poll. How many times does Joe Biden poop his pants between now and the DNC? Yeah, I'm going with three more times that he poops his pants. Because that's got to be the lucky number, the magic number. And how many different it's got to be a different world leader every single time. Yeah. It's always a world leader.
It is.
It's always
eventually like they got to get to a world leader who's going to say something, be like, shit, man, come on.
Yeah. Did you really just do that?
Yeah. Right.
We do that too. And he just poops his pants. Yeah.
We all do it.
I don't know. But again, we're going to get into that. But we talked already enough about Biden pooping his pants. Yeah. We could probably talk a whole episode about Biden pooping his pants.
The poop herder.
We're going to talk about his shit stain of a son.
Yeah.
Hunter Biden and his latest conviction. 3 convictions, not 36 like Trump, but three convictions.
It's a start.
And then we're going to get into this latest, greatest pandemic, which is obviously by far much worse than COVID-19 and was definitely not made in a lab. Obviously, totally we would never come on YouTube specifically and say that this pandemic got made in a lab. So
never,
never, ever. So totally we're gonna come back and not talk about how much it wasn't made in a lab. And I'm gonna play this intro video. Make sure you check us out all over social media. Share us far and wide across the land, so other people can hear us talking about Joe Biden pooping his pants. I mean, it's the highlight of your week, really. It's a highlight of my week. So, and it's only Tuesday.
Yeah, right.
So we're going to play this intro video while I try to retrieve my my notebook, my notes, and hopefully the show will continue to go on.
Absolutely.
We'll be right back.
What did you say?
You talking to me?
What the heck are you talking about?
What did you say?
What did you say?
What did you say?
Are you talking to me?
Are you talking to me? Are you talking to me?
What are you talking about? What are you talking about?
What are you saying?
What did you say?
Are you talking to me?
Well, maybe he was talking to me.
What did you say?
Talk to me.
What in heaven's name are you talking about?
Talk to me, baby.
What did you just say?
What did you say?
You listen to me. Are you talking to me?
Are you talking to me?
What the hell are you talking about?
Who are you talking to?
Look at that. I even made it back in time.
That's skills.
Yeah, something. I don't know what you call it, but it's something. So, they did it. Yay. Another week. Another felony conviction that is in no way politicized by any stretch, obviously. Obviously, no political things behind it. Even though this whole gun incident happened back in 2018.
Yeah.
Which means they found the gun probably in 2018.
Right.
And they indicted him last August.
Yeah.
So 5 years. 5 years it took him to be like, oh, the serial number on this gun matches Hunter Biden. He was a crackhead back then. Yeah. So it makes you wonder what they were holding out for.
Well, it sounds like they were just hoping it would just go away, because I think wasn't Secret Service were they having a problem getting them to testify that this actually happened?
I'm pretty sure Secret Service probably found the gun.
Oh, probably.
Because they were probably, Hunter's got Secret Service tailing him. They're not protecting him, they're tailing him.
They're cleaning up after him.
Yeah. That's literally all they do. And then all of a sudden this gun goes in a dumpster and they're like, oh, shit. And so they pull it back out. And then somebody's like, hey, remember that gun? Yeah, we need that. You're going to have to give that to us.
Yeah.
Because we need to charge this guy. We got to charge him with something because there's all this other shit. So if we can throw this on him, we can be like, see?
Yeah.
Everything's fair. We did charge him.
Yeah, we're doing both sides here, guys. We're doing both sides.
Right. 34 counts of check fraud.
Find something.
Versus owning a gun while smoking crack.
Yeah, right.
Anyway, it's not Trump this time. It's Hunter. It's not money laundering, like we said. It's not the influence peddling. It's not
sex trafficking.
All this stuff that they've thrown at him. But instead, involving an illegally owned firearm, which I don't agree with anyway.
Right. And I think, wasn't he was turned in by his brother's widow.
Oh, we'll get there.
Yeah,
we got to get to the backstory. But first, I just want to say, once again, 2 weeks in a row, history was made.
Yes.
History was made because this is now the first time a president's child has been convicted of a crime.
Okay.
So last week was the first former. Yeah. I mean, G.W. Bush, really?
Right.
I mean, his got scrubbed, though.
Yeah.
Or maybe convicted of felony. I don't know. But last week, Donald Trump was the first former president convicted.
Yeah.
This week, Hunter Biden is the first president's child to get convicted. So
makes you proud to be an
weeks
American.
Of history. Yes. In the making. 3 guilty verdicts, like I said. Let's take a look. Let's just go ahead and pull it up. Let me get the screens pulled up for us. This is from Zero Hedge. Says Hunter Biden convicted on felony gun charges. Sounds bad.
Yeah, it sounds real bad. I mean, does that mean that he can't vote for his dad in the election?
That's a great point. That's a really good point. What if it came down to one vote?
Right.
And if only Hunter Biden could have voted, like Joe loses by 1 vote, and if only Hunter could have voted, that could be a movie. Have you seen that movie where it comes down to the last person? I can't remember what it's called. Swing Vote. That's what it's called. Literally, it's so fucking stupid because it would never happen this way.
Right.
It's not about the popular vote. We all know that, but it comes down to this one person, all the pressure on them.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, you are the only person that hasn't. First of all, what are the odds that only one person hasn't voted in the United States? Yeah. Second of all, it's a tie that bumps it up by 1 vote. I don't buy it.
Right.
But what if that was the case?
Yeah.
They should remake that movie, but with Hunter Biden and his past conviction.
Yes.
So he's fighting the legal system to overturn his conviction so he can vote for his dad and bring justice to the United States to save democracy.
Yes. That'd be great.
What do you care more about, a gun crime or losing democracy? I can just see it now.
Yeah.
It'd be fantastic. Hunter Biden, the smartest man his father knows, has been...
What?
Hunter Biden,
The smartest,
the smartest man. Is I'm guessing Joe Biden said that at one point.
Oh.
Has been convicted on all 3 felony gun charges, and not yet anything to do with the 10 held for the big guy, of course. So obviously the least of his alleged crimes, and one which doesn't implicate anyone of importance. So maybe this was just them like getting him to go away without being able to implicate everybody else.
Right.
Let's see. It says, according to the AP, Hunter stared straight ahead and showed little emotion as the verdict was read. The judge has since excused the jurors. There's him staring ahead. That doesn't even look like him.
No, not at all.
A sentencing date has not yet been set, but prepare to be bombarded with, I wasn't aware Hunter was running for president from the left. Because, the right's going to be like, see, it's
and
the
what does
same
that
thing.
have to do with his
They're like,
dad?
he's not even running for president.
Yeah.
Hunter's legal team had been pursuing a jury nullification strategy, which obviously didn't work. There's so many freaking Twitter posts that I don't care to read or watch or see. I love that.
Yeah,
I love that one, though.
Yeah.
That's my favorite picture. That should be Joe Biden's political campaign poster right there.
Yeah.
I mean, not only is he smoking crack, I assume, in that picture. I assume that's what's happening.
I would assume so.
But his face just says everything about him, too. It says the jury in Hunter Biden's federal gun trial have reached a verdict after 2 days of deliberation. The 12-member jury will decide whether the first son is guilty of 3 charges related to a 2018 purchase of a gun, which prosecutors say violated federal law because he was addicted to crack cocaine at the time. Hunter has pleaded not guilty. So it wasn't like he had stolen a gun. It wasn't like he bought a gun off the black market. He just bought a gun while addicted to crack, which I don't think should I don't think that should prevent you from buying a gun. I'll just come out and say it. Like, you have not committed a gun crime, a violent crime. Yes, you're addicted to crack.
Yeah.
Maybe your judgment's a little flawed, but if you're not under the influence of crack, I don't think.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I just don't. That's fucking dumb.
No, I agree with that.
Especially like marijuana users. Like, it's the same thing would apply if I'm like a freaking pothead, or I not even a pothead, but I smoke. I actually knew a guy, I think, that he got his house raided because of some stupid ex dispute, and he got thrown in jail because he had guns and there was marijuana in his house, and it was the same situation. They were like, look, you lied on the freaking NRA, not NRA. Who is that? The ATF. Same thing. ATF form that said you're not addicted or not a drug user or whatever. There's clearly marijuana in your house. Now we're throwing you in jail. It's like, he didn't do anything. He didn't fucking hurt a soul.
Right.
I'm not saying Hunter didn't hurt a soul.
Right.
I'm just saying this law is fucking dumb.
Oh yeah.
And to be the one thing that they get on freaking Hunter Biden is kind of
well, and
bullshit.
you can have, all the freaking whiskey and tequila in your house
Yeah,
you want.
exactly.
And it's like,
you may a freaking raging
I
alcoholic.
would rather have somebody have weed in their house and a bunch of guns than somebody that has a bunch of alcohol is an
or
alcoholic.
opiate, like prescribed
Fentanyl
opiates,
or meth or some shit.
But even like, I don't know, like prescribed like Percocets or opiates or like stuff like that. But that's all fine. But don't have the stinky lettuce in your house.
Right. Yeah.
Because the devil's lettuce, because you'll go to jail for that.
Right.
Now, do I think Hunter Biden should be in prison? Yes, I do. But for being a crack addict and buying a gun. Now, crack addicts definitely don't have the best judgment, and they usually do anything to get more crack. And maybe that's what the gun was for. But if he hadn't been convicted of a gun crime, then I think he has every right to buy a gun.
Yeah.
I'm not siding with Hunter Biden, but I feel like I'm siding with. I never thought I'd defend Hunter Biden before, but Jesus Christ. The case marks the first time in history in U.S. history that the child of a sitting president has gone to trial. The indictment was brought by special counsel David Weiss, who was appointed last year to oversee various Hunter Biden probes. Oh yeah, this part too. If convicted on all 3 counts, he could face up to 25 years in prison and face up to $750,000.
What's the odds that's going to happen?
0. Well, I want to say 0, but mostly 0.
Yeah.
This is a first-time offense. Surprisingly, can you believe this is a first offense of Hunter
His dad is
crackhead
good at
Biden?
keeping him down.
Yeah, I guess. First 2 charges in the 3-count indictment are related to the gun purchase itself. Specifically, Hunter has been charged with lying on forms required by the ATF. The questions include: have you been convicted of felony? Are you a fugitive? Are you in the country illegally or unlawfully? And importantly, for this case, are you an unlawful user of or addicted to illegal drugs? Hunter checked no to the last question. Why would you ever check yes to that?
I know, right? Be like, oh, well, this says that you're an illegal user of drugs.
I mean, you'd have to be a really bad crackhead if you checked yes on that.
Yeah.
It's like, damn it. Yes, I am. Do I still got my gun? The 3rd count relates to the possession of the gun. And it's also against federal law to do so if you are abusing drugs. So the first couple charges were lying on the form to get the gun, saying that he wasn't a crackhead.
Right.
The second, or the third, so he must have had 2 check marks on there that they charged him twice. Kind of like Donald Trump, how they got him for each incident.
Right.
And then the third one was, well, after lying, he was able to buy the gun, and now he possesses the gun while being a crackhead.
Gotcha.
So that's the 3 charges there. Says he had the gun for 11 whole days in 2018 before his sister-in-law turned lover, Hallie Biden, here's where what you were saying comes in, tossed it in a dumpster. So she was worried about his mental health. She's like, this guy's a crackhead. He's clearly got issues, and now he has a fucking gun, and I'm worried about it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do the right thing and throw it in a dumpster.
Yeah.
She acts like she hasn't been in a political family for a very long time.
Right. Yeah.
Like, what did she think was going to happen? Like, maybe take it to a relative and be like, hey, can you hold on to this?
Right.
Or get one of those little lock boxes, put it in that or something, and be like, look, we're going to lock this up. Because what is the best way to get caught illegally owning a gun? Just to toss it in a dumpster.
Yeah.
Especially when Hunter is being tailed by Secret Service all the time to clean up his fucking messes. It talks about the different jurors. This is kind of funny to me because it says juror number 1 is a woman who said she has a sister who's a recovering drug addict who served time in Delaware State Prison for convictions on drug offenses and credit card fraud. She says her sister is currently clean. She also said she typically watches CBS Evening News. Now, don't they try to get like you have to be completely non-biased?
Right. Yeah.
Like, this person has a sister who's a recovering addict. She's going to be biased one way or another.
Right. You'd think so.
You would think. But she watched CBS News, which is the least biased, I guess. And her sister's currently clean, so we're good there. Yeah. Number 2 is a woman who is now retired after working 24 years in the United States Secret Service for 24 years. I like how they added 24 years twice.
Yeah.
So is that 48 years? So did she retire after working 24 years for the Secret Service after working 24 years for the Secret Service? So she works for the Secret Service. So is she friends with the Secret Service guy that picked up the gun?
Right. Yeah.
Handling contract negotiations, probably Hunter's. Her husband also worked for the Secret Service Uniform Division and served in the White House, U.S. Capitol, and foreign missions. She said she said she heard about the case but was not following it. And that's bullshit. Yeah, everybody's following it. Her brother said, oh no, that was a different one. Hang on. She worked, served in the White House, U.S. Capitol, and foreign missions. She said she currently owns a personal handgun. So she might be biased one way or another. She could be like, look, I had to go through the whole legal process. And,
right.
Or on
guys
the other
like
hand, she's
him
like,
gives us a bad name.
Right? Or on the other side, she's like, I like guns. Everybody should
have a gun.
Yeah.
I don't care if you're on drugs or not.
Again, bias one way or another.
Possibly.
Nobody's not biased.
Right,
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Juror number 3 is a woman, period.
That's it?
It goes on to say more, but I like how they said
Oh.
is a woman. Period. Not is a woman from blah 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 because she serves in the Delaware state legislature. It just first sentence. She's a woman. Already biased.
Right.
Already fucking biased. You know she is. She said she learned about the case but wasn't following it. Her brother, she said, was a police officer in Delaware. Okay, so her brother, so she's literally just a woman.
Yeah.
Like her brother is a police officer that's now serving on the Delaware state legislation, but she is a woman.
A woman.
Okay. All right. I'd already throw her off. I'd be like, nope, get her out of here. Number 4 is a woman who, when asked about her views on drugs and gun ownership, she said people who smoke marijuana should be allowed to own firearms. So she's biased, saying that weed to me isn't as bad as drugs like heroin, for example. Well,
What about
shit.
crack?
Yeah, what about crack, lady? She said her father and brother own guns.
Okay.
And they're probably crackheads.
Right.
They're probably potheads. That's why she's saying all that.
Yeah.
She's like, no, I think potheads should be allowed to own firearms. I mean, look at my brother and my dad. They both own firearms and everything's cool.
They're responsible potheads.
Juror 5 is a man who said civil rights movement showed how U.S. law enforcement has had failures when it comes to treating African Americans fairly under the law. What does this have to do with anything?
Does he know Hunter's not black?
I don't know. Maybe he's like, that guy needs the long arm of the law. Just like if this was a black dude, he'd be getting life in prison right now. This guy's Hunter Biden. So there's some bias there. He said he got a DUI 2 years ago and had to go to AA. Juror 6 is an older black man who said he has a license to conceal carry. He owns 3 pistols and says, I believe the Second Amendment is very important and I stand with it. And I think every law-abiding citizen follows that law should be able to have their Second Amendment. Juror 7 was asked very little by the judge and attorneys, but said his dad owns guns. Great. Juror 8 said his father had been killed during a crime and his brother was previously arrested on possession of drug charges. Very much biased.
Yeah.
9, a woman told the judge she owns a firearm, adding she has learned about the existence of the case on TV. 10 learned about the case from her brother during a graduation last weekend. Really?
How long was this case in the
at least since last August? Juror 11 said his best friend died of a heroin overdose and his family hunts and has guns. But he doesn't personally, or she doesn't personally have guns. Juror 12 wasn't asked many questions, said he has an older brother who's addicted to PCP and heroin and was admitted to rehab many times. So there's that article. It's developing. So all that to say, Hunter Biden has been convicted.
Right.
Guilty 3 times.
Yeah.
Up to 25 years. Never going to happen.
Yeah. No hung jury, no questions. It came back unanimous. They all thought guilty.
Now, here's the interesting thing. If Hallie had not tossed the handgun in the dumpster, he never would have been convicted.
Right.
He never would have been arrested. Like, I doubt he was arrested. He probably turned himself in. Never indicted, nothing like it. Nobody would have ever fucking found out.
Yeah. Nobody would have cared he had a gun.
Even if it was blasted all over the news, Hunter Biden's a crackhead. Do you think that freaking that gun dealer would pull up? Wait a second. He told me he wasn't a freaking drug abuser. Like he's not going back through his files. No, it just happened. We got tossed. Somebody found it, and they're like, let's hold on to this just in case.
Right. Yeah.
Just in case something comes up. And I honestly don't think it was like Republicans that are like, all right, we're going to get him this time. Because if it was, because again, 2018.
Right.
They didn't bring it up till 2023 last year, 5 years later.
Yeah.
They would have brought it up in 2020 during the first election with Trump.
And it was brought up. It just
it would have gone to trial. Absolutely. Yeah. I think it was somebody on their side, on Biden's side or the Democrat side, that's like, you know what? They keep pushing for all these, like, we got to put something on him.
Right.
Yeah. Like, well, we can't do the Ukraine stuff because that implicates Joe, his brother, implicates all these other people. Well, we can't do the money laundering because, again, Joe, the house, the painting, like we can't do that. what about? Wait a second. You remember when I found that gun?
Yeah.
Dude, he was totally a crackhead back then. What if we throw that on him? Then we could be like, dude, look,
He's like,
look,
what do you
we
mean was?
we indicted him.
Right.
We indicted him on something. You can't say we didn't. You can't say it's not fair now. So I think it was his own people that did this to him.
Probably.
Or
I mean,
Joe's
he's gonna
people.
get slap on a wrist, get an ankle bracelet.
If that, I doubt he even gets an ankle bracelet.
Probably not.
Oh,
Yeah.
He'll get slapped. He'll probably get a fine.
Yeah.
Which his dad will probably
His
pay
dad
for.
will pay.
And then he'll just have the name title felon.
Yeah.
Which who fucking cares
Right.
at that point?
I mean, pretty much, Donald Trump's got it.
I mean, do money launderers really care if they're buying their paintings from a convicted felon?
No.
Like, do you take a background test?
It adds street cred.
I was gonna
right?
say, do you take a background check when you you apply to be a money laundering painter?
Right.
It's like, are you, or have you ever been convicted of a felony? Ah, shit. Yes, you're hired.
Right.
I don't know.
I don't know what it is, but that's street cred. Your pictures have
Right.
more reality to me now.
I want to take a look at the Associated Press report
do you
on
think
this.
his brother's widow, do you think she's still invited to family get-togethers after this?
I mean, does she come as his widow or Hunter's ex?
Yeah, right.
Or the person that threw the gun away?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Keep it in the family.
She
That's
needs
what
to
I
write
say.
a book.
She's probably been threatened.
Probably said,
so
"You
many
don't
times.
write shit about
God
this."
damn it. I want to look. I want to read what the Associated Press has to say about this, because they do a little bit of comparing between Hunter and Trump's cases.
Oh.
And whose side do you think they're more on? Do you think
Yeah.
they're not biased?
Yeah, they're in the bag for Hunter.
Says President Joe Biden's son, Hunter, is convicted of all 3 felonies in federal gun trial. I don't want to get into the story again. I just want
This
to.
is a witch hunt.
Yeah, obviously. Let me pull this back up. Why are you so glitchy?
That's just the way I was born.
Okay. Come back.
Hey, Derek made it.
Derek made it. Yay. President Joe Biden's son, Hunter, is convicted on 3 felony gun charges. Let me scroll down, because it talks about Hunter faces up to 25 years in prison when he is sentenced. Though as a first-time offender, he would not get anywhere near the maximum, and there's no guarantee the judge would send him to prison. She did not set a sentencing date. Usually, that's weird. They usually set a sentencing date right away.
The judge was a woman.
The judge was a woman.
Oh my gosh.
Throw off the case. Defense attorney Abby Lowe said they would continue to vigorously pursue all legal challenges available. So they're going to appeal it.
Yeah, of course.
The jury's decision was read swiftly after the announcement that they reached a verdict. First Lady Jill Biden sat through nearly every day of the trial, but did not make it into the courtroom in time to hear the verdict. Hunter walked out of the courthouse holding hands with the First Lady and his wife before they got into waiting SUVs and drove off. Joe steered clear of the federal courtroom where his son was tried because he was busy pooping his pants, and said little about the case because he didn't even know what was happening.
Now is Hunter Jill's son? Because
that I do not know.
Joe was married before.
Yeah, and she died, right?
Yeah, in a car accident.
Yeah, that he probably
caused.
Says allies of the Democrat have worried about the toll that the trial and now conviction will take on the 81-year-old who has long been concerned with his only living son's health and sustained sobriety. Except he forgets that his other son died, so I don't think it bothers him that much.
Right.
Hunter's conviction came just weeks after Trump. You got to hear this. Hear this now. Hunter's conviction came just weeks after Trump was found guilty of 34 felony charges related to hush money payments to porn actor in the 2016 campaign. The cases are in no way the same. And Hunter is a private citizen who is not running for office, but they have both argued they were victimized by politics of the movement or of the moment. Yeah, I agree to both their statements.
Yeah.
Yes, Hunter's were politically motivated. Yes, Trump's were absolutely politically motivated. What's up?
Do you know he is the vice chairman of Amtrak?
Oh, I didn't know that. I probably knew it, but I'd forgot it if I did know it. It says Trump, however, has continued to falsely claim his verdict was rigged. Hear any biases
Yeah.
in in this article, he falsely claims the verdict was rigged.
Yeah, no. His mother is Neela Hunter Biden.
Her middle name is Hunter?
Yes.
Are we sure they're not the same person?
Died in a car crash in 1972. So
that's weird.
Yeah.
Something fishy there. I just know it. Trump has continued to falsely claim his verdict was rigged, while Joe has said he would accept the verdict. Now, the difference is Joe was not the one that was convicted.
Right.
So tell us what Hunter's saying. Is he saying that this was rigged? Is he falsely saying this was rigged? Because you didn't give his statement. You gave Joe's statement, which is you probably couldn't understand anyway.
Right.
He says he would accept the verdict involving his son and would not seek to pardon him. In his statement Tuesday, the president said he and the first lady are proud of their son, who says he has been sober since 2019 and will always be there for him in love and support. Trump's campaign called the verdict nothing more than a distraction from the real crimes of the Biden crime family. I like how they're like, oh, love and floweriness and family and the Bidens, and Trump falsely claimed. It's just like, you're very one-sided here.
Family.
Trump and his allies have pressed unsubstantiated or debunked allegations that Biden acted while vice president to advance his family members' foreign business interests. Please tell me, how has this been debunked? Please, one specific example of how him acting as vice president, how these claims have been debunked.
Yeah. No,
because just saying it's debunked doesn't debunk it. No matter how many times you say it's been debunked.
Yeah.
It says the verdict came down as the president prepared to give a speech at a conference hosted by the Everytown for Gun Safety Action Fund. So,
whoa.
Yeah. But
you know,
you get distracted very easily.
Disregard.
Go. What? No, you need to tell me what that whoa was about. That distracting whoa was about.
I pushed the wrong button. So
all right.
Sorry.
Wow, that was
my bad.
That
Anticlimactic.
Very. So this is ironic here. The verdict came down right as Joe Biden was getting ready to give a speech for Everytown for Gun Safety Action Fund in Washington. He was given like a gun advocate, like a gun law advocacy speech while his son's gun crime verdict came down.
That's some Godfather shit right there.
Says he didn't mention his son as he spoke about the administration's efforts to stop gun violence. It's like failed to mention, oh yeah, there's all these gun crimes out there. Look at my son. He just got convicted of one. No, he failed to mention that part. Says hours after the conviction, President Biden hugged his son after landing in Wilmington to spend the night with family before leaving Wednesday for the Group of 7 Leaders Conference in Italy. Hunter, his wife, and their child greeted the president on the tarmac, and the president lingered to visit them for several minutes. No, he lingered there because either A, he got lost, or B, he pooped his pants, or both. Jurors found Hunter guilty of lying to federal licensed gun dealer, making a false claim on an application by saying he was not a drug user, and illegally having a gun for 11 days. Trial played out in the president's home state where Hunter grew up and where the family is deeply established. Joe spent 36 years as senator in Delaware, commuting daily to Washington. And his other son, Beau Biden, was the state attorney general before he died of cancer.
What I want to know
the end
is in the 11 days that Hunter owned that gun, did
how much
any friends that were murdered?
Well, there's that too,
right? Was anybody killed in those 11 days that caused his mistress to throw a gun in the dumpster?
His dead brother's wife,
yes,
yes,
who he was having an affair with because he was married.
And she's like, this is a bad idea. Let me throw this away.
Yeah.
Derek says, I would like to invite you personally to set up a booth at my kids' safety day thing, bringing firsthand knowledge of steamer safety to the masses. Derek, I'm trying not to think of the fact that I scalded the skin off my leg this weekend. I'm fine, by the way. Thanks for asking. I'm fine.
After your maiming.
What's that? Yes. My leg looks like Freddy Krueger, but I am fine.
Yeah.
It's all good. Back to Hunter. So let's kind of go back to the original indictment. Somehow authorities get it. 5 years later, they indict them. Again, I asked the question, what was anyone doing for 5 years?
Right.
Where was that guy? Just sitting in evidence locker?
Yeah.
Was it in? Did the security or the Secret Service guy take it home as a trophy? He's like, I got
Probably.
Hunter Biden's gun, his
Yeah.
crack gun.
Yeah.
You can see a little crack residue on it even. Obviously political reasons, obviously.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Like, again, the only question, the biggest question is, why wasn't it brought up in 2020 as opposed to now?
Right.
Other than the fact that it had to have been one of their own.
Yeah.
Unless they thought they had enough against Hunter, or maybe it's too close to the laptop thing. They got swept under the rug, and they're like, they're not even touching this shit. It's not even worth bringing this out because it's just going to get swept under the rug too. Let's wait till the 2024 election. Let's wait a little bit till the laptop thing is finally revealed. Then we can drop the gun thing on top of that.
And my thought is, like you said, it's like, it's one of those things. It's like, hey, we got this sitting here. There's all this other shit that they can go after. Let's just throw this out there. Let's just throw it out there. Let's give it to them. Trust me, Hunter, you're going to be president someday. Let's do this.
Probably. So, I mean, what now? What comes of all of this?
Nothing.
Do you think does he spend a day in jail even?
No.
Does he get a fine?
Probably a fine. Like I said, worst case scenario, probation, house arrest for a little bit, but I don't think it'll be anything major. And now if they go and they're like, well, what about the laptop? They'll be like, he's not even president. Leave him alone.
Right.
You guys have already gotten him on this stupid gun charge, right?
Now, whatever comes of this, let's say they're like, no jail time, no probation, no fees, no fines or whatever, just the felony record,
right?
Whatever happens to him, Joe Biden better turn around, like get up immediately and say, everybody that has been convicted of exactly what my son was convicted of, they get the exact treatment that he got.
Yeah.
Like if you're sitting in jail because you had like a freaking ounce of marijuana in your house, but you put on the thing that you don't do drugs and you went to jail for this, you're out, and we're going to pay you for all the days that you served in jail. And if you paid a fine, we're going to pay you that back to you. I mean, that's how I think this should work.
Absolutely.
It's like if this freaking, especially like it, I mean, they have to be first time convicts,
right.
First time. Everything has to line up exactly like this. It has to be like a first time incident or like first offense or whatever. And they just lied on a freaking application while being a drug addict.
Yeah.
Any politician, if their kid or they get such a minor sentence, they should be forced to get up and say, everybody else, this is the standard right here, and we pay you reparations or something for time served, and you get out of jail now. And you get your time paid back on your life. You get all your fines back. We'll pay you for any time that you spent on probation. So that's how I feel that this should be.
Yeah.
Because if this guy just gets a slap on the wrist, but there's peons like us out in the world that are serving jail time for this shit, and it's like ruining our entire fucking lives. And that doesn't even if, let's say, even if he did do that, let's say he's just like, you know what, I'm I'm pushing everybody's sentence to exactly what his was. They're still not going to get the cushy life that Hunter Biden got, because they're still going to have that felony charge. They're still going to have to fucking find a job.
Yeah.
Hunter doesn't have to find a job.
No, his paintings sell for $350,000 a piece.
So I mean, life's
he
a
pays
bitch.
his dad what $75,000 to stay at the house.
So stupid like that, yeah.
So it's
Last thing I want to do is look at CNN interviewed one of the jurors after the fact, and they detailed to CNN how they reached their guilty verdict.
That's video I'd like to see.
I'm not going to watch the video.
No, I know. I mean, of them deliberating in the...
Yes. There's probably like a few good men.
Yeah.
Or no, what was the one
But
with John Cusack where he like got himself on the jury and then he convinced all the jury?
Oh, yeah.
What was that?
Oh, gosh.
I can't think of the name of that one.
Yeah,
That was a good movie, though.
That was a good movie. I forgot about that one.
The jury in Hunter Biden's gun case was deadlocked in an initial vote Monday night over whether to convict the president's son. One of the jurors told CNN in an interview, adding that no politics came into play during deliberation. Maybe they didn't specifically mention politics, but in the back of their head, politics were 100% in play.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
The male juror number 10 also said it was a mistake to put Hunter Biden's daughter, Naomi, on the stand, and that jurors felt bad she was called to testify.
How old is Naomi?
I'm not sure. Hunter was found guilty Tuesday on 3 felony charges. Yes, we know all those things. While the male juror did not say whether he was a supporter of President Biden, he said he felt sympathy for the family's struggle with Hunter Biden's addiction. The president's son was just like anybody else. No, he wasn't, because everything has been like covered up until now.
Okay. Naomi is 30 years old.
Oh, so she's not a little freaking girl on the stand. I mean, do I feel bad for her that she has to go for that? Yeah.
High-priced lawyer at a very large firm.
I don't fucking feel bad for her at all. Like, everything she did was a plan.
Right.
Was planned out and thought out. Nope, don't feel bad. The president's son, do I feel bad that she went through that back in the day? Sure, maybe. But that she had to deal with an addict as a father?
Well,
yes.
Yeah, I feel bad about that.
I don't feel bad that she had to take the stand. No. I mean, that's what she does.
Right.
Says, while the male juror didn't say he was a supporter of Biden, he said he felt sympathy for the family struggle. The president's son was just like anybody else. No. Juror number 10 told CNN. The juror said he based his decision to convict on the fact that Biden did not disclose that he was a drug addict when he bought a gun. That was the whole trial. So the fact that you based it on the indictment,
right?
You did your job.
Yeah.
Good job.
Right, yeah.
We all knew he was a drug addict, he said. In his mind, how could he not know he was an addict? Juror number 10 said that the case boiled down to whether Biden was addicted to crack when he purchased the gun. All 12 jurors did agree that, yes, he knowingly bought a gun when he was an addict or he was addicted to drugs. The juror, though, also said he doesn't believe Biden belongs in jail and pointed to the fact he did not want the gun back after Hallie Biden, the widow of Beau Biden, who later dated his brother, took it out of his truck.
Had an affair. He was married when he was with her.
Oh, yeah, that too. So he said he doesn't believe he belongs in jail because he didn't want the gun back after Hallie took it from his truck and threw it in a garbage near a grocery store. He shouldn't. Was he driving it? Because wouldn't that be concealed carrying illegally too? Shouldn't that be another charge?
Yes, I believe so.
When he said he didn't want the gun back and the gun sat in evidence for almost 5 years, I think that's what may have been what led to his downfall. If he had taken possession of the gun, I don't know if we would have even had a trial. So like they're saying, if he would just went and got the gun out of the trash himself and hid it, we never would have found out, and it never would have went to trial. Yes. Another juror told CNN that she believes Biden needs rehab more than imprisonment or a fine. That's probably true.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I mean, he does need prison or a fine. He needs prison more than rehab, but not for this.
Not for this.
Not for this.
Right.
Juror number 10 said it didn't make a difference for him that Biden did not take the stand in his own defense, and he agrees Biden was better off not testifying. Yeah, that would probably have been really bad.
Yeah.
Ultimately, the juror said that the unilateral guilty verdict came down to the rules. Yes,
they should.
That's how it works, or it should work. They make a rule, you break the rule, you go to jail.
Yeah. Should
it be a rule in the first place? Probably not.
Right.
But yes, it ultimately comes down to the rules. I mean, that's what you convict on is the rules, not personal feelings.
Exactly. Not
where you're supposed to.
Right.
Other jurors spoke to CNN after they reached the guilty verdict, said they believed they had no choice but to find Biden guilty, but said they questioned whether the criminal case ever should have been brought against the president's son. Now, listen to this. This is fantastic. The case seems like a waste of taxpayer dollars.
Yeah.
How many taxpayer dollars have been wasted on Donald Trump, on trying to convict Donald Trump,
beginning.
on indicting Donald Trump, on impeaching Donald Trump, on following Donald Trump, spying on Donald Trump, all the above? How many taxpayer dollars? And they're like, oh, this shouldn't have gone to trial.
Right. And this was probably the least like maintenance cost trial that's been in the last, like, between the Biden and the Trump families.
Now, let me point out, yes, it absolutely was a waste of taxpayer dollars. Yes, it should not have gone to trial.
Yes.
Not this anyway.
No.
They should have saved those taxpayer dollars to actually convict him of something that will actually put him away and put everybody else away that he's involved with. But they didn't for a reason. They decided to waste those resources on this. So, yes, I agree. This was a waste of taxpayer dollars.
And you didn't see any coverage of this on any of the channels.
Oh, really? No.
So,
no, we're too busy talking about Trump's conviction.
Right.
Another male juror said the process was a little bit frustrating, but because it felt like we couldn't get the full story. Probably.
You probably still don't have the full story.
All three, that's because they're covering up the full story.
Of course. Like you said.
All three jurors said the defense lawyer, Abby Lowell, made them question whether Biden intentionally lied on an ATF form, but that ultimately his defense strategy was unconvincing. Politics played no part whatsoever. Bullshit. Jurors who spoke with CNN said politics never played a part in their decision. The guilty verdict was not politically motivated. Politics played no part whatsoever. A second said he was concerned that the jury would be at each other's throats because Biden's father is the president and because of political climate. But that once deliberation began, she did not feel pressured. A third juror added that he didn't feel pressured. The president on Tuesday again reiterated he would accept the jury's verdict, but he also expressed support for his son. Don't care. Juror 10 said the president never really even came into play for me because his name was only brought up in one story in the trial, and that's when it kind of sunk in, like a little bit. Oh, wow, this is a sitting president's son on trial. And so, yeah, that was kind of hard, but but you kind of put that out of your mind. And after that, after it was brought up again, I did put it out of my mind. While the president was not in the courtroom, First Lady Jill Biden was a fixture at the trial, showing support for her son. Each juror CNN spoke with acknowledged the weight of having her in the courtroom. Do you think, I get that she has the right to be there, but as the president's wife, who is clearly better than Joe Biden, do you think that was a little bit of pressure on the jury?
Oh, yeah.
Unneeded.
You got the first lady sitting right there.
Yeah, it's not just the mother. Yeah, I get that it's the mother of the convicted,
right,
or the person on trial, but it's the president's wife is sitting there,
seen on national
Jedi-ing
TV.
you.
Yeah, right. Or even if she's crying, my boy,
right.
I mean, there's a lot of pressure there.
Yeah. I don't know what I think about that, because Joe could have went for the same thing and been like, I'm just here to support my boy. He has the right to do it. And people would have been like, well, he is influencing the jury's decision just by being here. I feel like Jill probably in some way. Yeah. I feel like part of her reason for being there was probably to influence the jury's decision.
Absolutely. Because that's the constant reminder to that. Oh yeah, this is a sitting president's son.
Right.
Right.
It's like, how do you put it out of your mind?
Yeah.
When Jill is sitting right there, like dead-eyeing you.
Yep.
It says, when I looked at Mrs. Biden, I really felt bad for the family, said Juror 10. He added, while he didn't say how he planned to vote in 2024 election, you can't help but take some of these things into factor. So he's saying it could influence election one way or another. I don't need to get into like the heart-wrenching testimony from the family. I'm
curious with the heart-wrenching.
Oh, you want to go into that?
Yeah.
Jurors said they recognize the emotional testimony in the case, that saw Biden's family on the stand discussing some of the most intimate details of his struggle with drugs and alcohol. I didn't know Hunter's addiction was as bad as it was. It was heart-wrenching. Naomi Biden testified about visiting her father in the summer of 2018 while he was in rehab in LA after not seeing him for some time. She came under intense cross-examination by prosecutors and was seen wiping away tears as she left the courtroom. I felt bad they put Naomi on trial as a witness. They didn't put her on trial. They called her as a witness.
Her.
I think that was probably a strategy that should not have been done. That would be the prosecutor would do that in any situation.
Yeah.
No daughter should ever have to testify against her dad. A second juror said she felt so sad for Naomi and found her testimony difficult to listen to. Juror 10 said the panel did not focus heavily on Hunter Biden's lifestyle, but rather the evidence presented at the trial, which is what you should focus on.
Mm-hmm.
It was very sad, and Hallie testified. I mean, that was for me a very sad time because I didn't know Hallie also got addicted to crack. So I felt really sorry for that, he added. So that's a heart-wrenching stories from the family. Nothing really that heart-wrenching.
Right.
Your thoughts?
Yeah, again, I mean, how do you not politicize this, right? I mean even the juror says, like you said, politics may not have been a factor, but you got the first lady looking at you. And
he even said, "Is like, I mean, you got to kind of take this into account when you vote in 2024." I mean, one way or another, it's a politicized thing.
Yeah.
Whether you want to admit to it or not, in some way, politics affected it, and it affected politics. That's it's just the nature of it.
But I'm curious if it was the prosecution or the defense that put the daughter up to.
I bet you the defense
brought her up
to give a sob story.
Yes, they wanted
because then it said the nasty cross-examination that would have obviously been because the defense isn't going to nationally cross-examine her and make her look bad or whatever. It would be the prosecutor that would do that. So I guarantee you the defense, their strategy was put her on.
Well, yeah. And
then show the humanity, like the effects of addiction, how much
it hurt the family.
It hurt the family.
And then how belligerent the prosecution was by going after her then.
Right. Exactly. Right? So that I guarantee you that the defense called her. So I don't feel bad that she was called because that was clearly
it was their
defense strategy. Yeah. So 25 years isn't going to happen.
No,
we know that.
No,
it's not going to happen. He's got tax trials coming up in September. I don't know if you knew that.
I did not know
more
that.
Tax trials coming up, I guess. So he's not completely out.
So
out of the
tax
courtroom
evasion
yet. I'm not entirely sure what all of September's are, because remember he pled guilty to some tax evasion or something last year.
Okay,
got a slap on the wrist. You didn't really even hear about it. So he's got other tax things coming up. Are we ever going to get to the real crimes?
No.
You think that ever sees the light of day in a courtroom?
No, it's too big.
No indictments, not even. What if Donald Trump becomes president? Do you think Hunter Biden sees the courtroom for money laundering or anything like that?
No, it'll be the same as the Hillary's got to
lock her
up. Then, he'll talk a good game.
Empty promises.
During the campaign, he'll talk a good game, but if he's elected, it goes away.
No, yeah. They'll spend the next 4 years trying to get him in jail again. And he will be busy taking over the world as he does so well. So
does the laptop come up again?
I think it will.
Yeah,
I think it'll make a return.
Yeah,
because it came up recently in conversation, at least.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how recently, but it's starting to come out that it's like, they knew about it. I think at least in the election cycle, they're going to push it as the election meddling last time to kind of plead their case this time.
Yeah.
Does it go anywhere? No. I think it'll just be used as an election tool.
Yeah.
As they all are.
If you had to rate slimiest people in politics right now between Jared Kushner and Hunter Biden, who would you go with?
They're like slimiest.
Yeah, like
It's got to be Jared Kushner.
yeah.
Just it's got to be.
Okay.
I don't know. Because we don't know enough about him.
Yeah, right. He's still kind of a background player, and
The fact that like a lot of his like he's covering his tracks well, or
Right.
his tracks are being covered well, which tells me he's a lot slimier.
Yeah.
At least maybe it's just not a fucking crackhead, so he gets
right.
like
So he's a little bit
he's a little bit
smarter.
more careful. And yeah, so I don't know what
Yeah.
he's been doing lately, but
Yeah.
I feel like he's a bigger player than Hunter Biden was.
Yeah,
I think he's what Hunter Biden aspires to be,
I can see that. Yeah.
but Hunter's never going to live up to that because he's a crackhead. So,
Right.
I'd like to see. I'd like to dig more into Jared Kushner.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, the fact that we don't know,
Right.
like they haven't come after Jared Kushner, and we know he's a pretty shady guy, and they haven't, like the Democrats never touched Jared Kushner,
Right.
like
Right.
never did really. I mean, there was
No.
some stuff that came, like allegations that came up, but they never stayed there long.
Mhm.
And I don't know, maybe that's his ethnicity thing. I'm not going to say
And-
that's
and
his
no,
ethnicity
Yeah,
thing,
you're-
but
could be
maybe
right.
it's his ethnicity thing that plays into that. But I don't know. I feel like he's either he's not as big of a player as he thinks he is, or he's a really big player that's got a lot of people covering his ass.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we are past due for a break. We got to switch courses. Speaking of trials, we got to talk about
Yes.
the latest pandemic, not
Yes.
man-made pandemic that will be
Yes.
hitting the airwaves pretty soon.
Yeah.
Which is probably what all this shit is covering up, is all the
Right.
stuff that's going on in the works with the new bird flu,
Mhm.
which is like, it's non-creator said is probably the scariest virus out there, or most dangerous virus out there.
Okay.
Because of what they didn't do to it to make it not as we'll get into all that. And I won't play safe when we come back. I just didn't want to get kicked off before we got
Right.
there.
No, that makes sense.
So we're going to come back. We're going to talk about H5N1, the new vaccine that's already being created for it.
Nice.
And then how it may or may not have gotten to where it is to this day. So it's going to be a fun one. Interesting conversation. Totally switching topics away. We talked enough about Hunter Biden.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Let's get into the virus. We're going to take 2 or 3 minutes, and when we come back, that's what we're going to talk about. So please don't go anywhere. We beg you. Stick around, because we got a lot more stuff to talk about. We'll be right back. We're back.
We are.
Hunter is going away for the rest of his life.
He's gonna be president.
Going to be president from jail. Let's move on. Speaking of trials, Big Pharma is while we are sitting here focused on Biden's pointless trial, Big Pharma is conducting their own trials because Penn Medicine is developing a potent mRNA vaccine against the lethal H5N1 virus. All right, I like all the adjectives, descriptive adjectives there.
Yeah,
that adds that much more emotion.
I'm just glad we have a big pharma company like this that's vigilant and always looking for ways to save us.
Yes, to get ahead of the curve so we don't have another COVID-19 where we got to wait 3 days for a vaccine to drop.
Exactly.
I mean, imagine the lives that would have been saved if we didn't have to wait that 3 days.
We wouldn't have to been locked down as long as we were.
Let's take a look. This is from SciTech Daily. It says experimental mRNA vaccines prove highly effective against H5N1 in animal studies. Highly effective. Have you heard that before?
Several times.
Remember, the COVID-19 vaccine was highly effective.
Yes.
There's two phrases. It was highly effective in something. I can't remember what the other one was. Based on what was it highly effective? Was it like less deaths amongst the vaccinated through the unvaccinated?
Yeah.
Can we say that now? Are we allowed to go down that road now?
I think so.
You think so?
I think that's a fact now.
Now, did it prevent the transmission of COVID-19?
No.
Did it make it? I don't know. Maybe COVID. Maybe it's what knocked out COVID-19. Maybe was it what made it finally turned it into the common flu/cold that we knew and thought it was to begin with? Was that what the vaccine did?
I'm gonna say no.
So I want to know what they're basing highly effective. Now, if it was highly effective to do the thing that we think that it was highly effective doing, that you still can't talk about, then it worked wonders.
Well, yeah, because they missed a lot of people the last time.
Yeah,
they got to do another round.
Well, this time, so last time they're like, let's make this not so bad virus that's going to get all these people to take these vaccines because they're super scared of it.
But mostly old people and sick people.
But it's going to get, I mean, we don't want to actually like wipe a bunch of people out. We just want them all to get vaccinated. So let's make this not so deadly virus, like 0.001% will die from this. Mostly old people that are dying anyway. And then will convince everybody that's so bad that they'll take the vaccines. And then they're like, oh shit, they were on to us. Okay, new strategy. Let's make a really deadly virus to convince all these people to take our vaccine. Because let's do the thing that we said we did, or they thought it was last time. Let's do it this time.
They'll be so scared they'll be crying
because people actually will be dying.
Right.
That's not what happened. Obviously, YouTube. I mean that's fiction. Obviously. Researchers from the Perelman School of Medicine at the University of Pennsylvania have developed an experimental mRNA vaccine against the avian flu influenza virus H5N1. The vaccine is highly effective in preventing severe illness. One thing that it has on the COVID vaccine, preventing severe illness and death in preclinical models, and could help manage the current H5N1 outbreaks in birds and cattle and prevent its transmission to humans. Again, there's another leg that it has up on the COVID-19 vaccine. This research, so it supposedly does what it's actually supposed to do. Right. Like it prevents severe illness and death, and it prevents transmissibility. The two things that you would think you suspect a vaccine was for.
Yes, that the COVID one kind of failed about.
It kind of failed. This research was recently published in Nature Communications. Scott Hensley, PhD, a professor of microbiology at Perelman School of Medicine highlighted the flexibility of mRNA technology in vaccine development. The mRNA technology allows us to be much more agile in developing vaccines. We can start creating an mRNA vaccine within hours of sequencing a new viral strain with pandemic potential. During the previous influenza pandemics, like the 2009 H1N1, the swine flu, vaccines were difficult to manufacture and did not become available until after the initial pandemic wave subsided. Says Hensley's laboratory worked on the study in collaboration with the laboratory of mRNA vaccine pioneer and Nobel Prize winner Drew Weissman. Before 2020, experts thought influenza virus posed the greatest risk of causing a pandemic, and we had limited options for creating a vaccine if that happened. COVID-19 showed us the power of mRNA-based vaccines as a tool to protect humans. Protect humans! That's what it's all about. Instead of them dying from your made-up viruses, they just die for no reason at all.
Right.
From emerging viruses quickly, and we are better prepared now to respond to a variety of viruses with pandemic potential. Traditional versus mRNA vaccine production. Most influenza vaccines are egg-based, where experts inject fertilized chicken eggs with what they predict will be the dominant viral strain, let it replicate, and then inactivate the virus to use in the flu shots distributed globally. However, viruses must first be adapted to replicate in fertilized eggs before these conventional vaccines can be produced, which can take up to 6 months, presenting potential problems for quickly producing vaccines when it's needed most during the first few months of a pandemic. mRNA vaccines are easily and quickly adapted to protect against different strains of influenza viruses and do not require eggs for development. What does it require? The Penn researchers developed an mRNA vaccine targeting a specific subtype of the H5N1 virus that is circulating widely in birds and cattle. While it rarely infects humans, some fear that the virus may evolve and cause a human pandemic. The researchers found that the vaccine elicited a strong antibody and T-cell response in mice and ferrets. What's more, the animals maintained high levels of antibodies even a year after vaccination. Additionally, the researchers found the vaccinated animals were subsequently infected with H5N1, cleared the virus more rapidly, and displayed fewer symptoms than the unvaccinated. Researchers also noted that all the vaccinated animals survived following the H5N1 infection, whereas all the unvaccinated animals died because they probably fucking killed them. Say they died. Now, interesting, it says, they cleared the virus more rapidly, displayed fewer symptoms, such as death.
Yeah.
Because the ones, all of them survived that were vaccinated. The others, they all died. So it's just like, oh, there was much fewer symptoms. They displayed fewer symptoms, like
death.
Death was specifically death. Yes, that one. Finally, the researchers compared the mRNA vaccine response in mice to the response to traditional egg-based vaccines and found the mRNA vaccine was just as effective. Both vaccines elicited strong antibody responses, regardless of prior seasonal flu exposure. I'm not going to get into all that. Did it say it left out a key element of this vaccine thing that I read? Did it not say who was funding this?
It did not say.
Let me scroll back up. Hang on.
Okay.
Because I know it's in here somewhere. Or they deleted it while I was since I researched this a couple hours ago. Oh, here we go. Oh, I missed on down here, right at the bottom. The Hunter Laboratory at the University of Pennsylvania School of Veterinary Medicine, the Webby Lab at St. Jude, and Stephen Fan at Acuitas also contributed to this research. This research was funded by the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases.
Oh, damn.
And the National Institute of Health.
Mm.
And the Department of Health and Human Services. So, brought to you by the people that brought to you COVID-19 and the COVID-19 vaccine.
Right.
We give you the research for
the
H1 or H5N1 bird flu virus.
Yeah. So
Raise any red flags yet?
I'm thinking gain of function research.
Oh, we'll get there. Like I said, not saying that this was leaked out of lab.
Well, anything funded by the NIH is just like, no.
Obviously. So here's my question. First, let's talk about the H5N1.
Yes.
It's super deadly. Like, they say it kills 50% of the birds that it infects. I mean, it naturally occurs. It's a naturally occurring bird flu.
Right.
It occurs transmitted bird to bird, and 50% of birds that get it die. That's pretty significant.
That is, yes, much deadlier than COVID.
However, very low chance of contagious in transmission into humans, and even less chance of it transmitting from humans to other humans.
Right.
It's not airborne.
Yes.
In its natural state. Key note there. In its natural state, it's not airborne. Only people who work like closely in the poultry industry, like elbows deep in like raw chicken guts,
right,
contract this because it like absorbs through like mucous membranes, like your eye, like if you get some in your eyes or in your mouth, God forbid. But it's not like air particle, like flying through the air or anything like that. You got to be like really in the swamps of it for you to contract anything. And I think there's only been a couple of cases of human transmission. Like I said, in its natural state.
Yeah.
So if that is the case, yes, there is all this bird flu going around. Like right now, it's really heavily in the cattle population. And that was one thing they were saying. They were going to start injecting this mRNA. Wasn't necessarily for people. They're going to start injecting the cattle with this mRNA vaccine. First question is this. Does it transmit from the cows into, do you gain the vaccine by eating the cows that are vaccinated?
Right.
Does it alter your mRNA when you eat
which is
mRNA cows
with the COVID vaccine?
Yes. Get your mic up closer. It wasn't like I heard you, but they didn't hear you.
Gotcha. Like they talked about with the COVID vaccine about injecting it into meat or doing GMOs with the vaccine.
Let's see, Derek. Derek's back on the drug stuff. He says his family testified he was an addict on a case about him buying a gun while addicted to drugs. That's smart. Swears they make this thing blow up before June 22nd. I'm going to end up in jail or put under house arrest or heavily fined for something for not canceling my event. Your event's going to get canceled. It's going to be last year all over again. But anyway, so my concern, yes, is that they're going to inject these cows with this mRNA vaccine. We're going to eat the burgers and we're going to get vaccinated.
Yeah.
Which I'm against, but how much do I disavow burgers? Like, do you just stop eating burgers and chicken and poultry altogether?
Yeah. I mean, unless you can find, something like local, buy a cow,
Yeah, I don't know. But how many of them cattle farmers are going to be pressured into vaccinating their cattle?
Exactly. Because they could be, hey, you got to destroy any cattle that's not vaccinated.
So why, if it's so small of a chance that it's going to transmit into humans, why the big scare that it's going to be the next pandemic and we should spend the millions of dollars creating this mRNA vaccine in the first place? Like what's their fear? Like, they're like, well, it's going to evolve and just start jumping off into humans. It's like, that's it. I'm not a virologist. I don't know how quickly, certain characteristics of viruses evolve. I know they can evolve fairly quickly, but to go from like, oh, it's not contagious at all to all of a sudden it's like, everybody has it. We need an mRNA vaccine. Now, what's the more likely scenario, that it evolves that quickly or scientists fuck with it a little bit, and it ends up out in the
scientists, because this isn't our, as you stated before, this is not our first go around with avian flu.
Yes.
Right. I mean, it hit before. Nobody was real concerned about vaccinating people, getting the RNA test, that shit. I mean, nobody cared about that. It was just like, hey, be careful.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, now it's like, hey, this could be a major thing. We need to get everybody vaccinated.
Right. So here, remember when we were talking about Fauci, we were talking about the Wuhan lab.
Yeah.
Remember we even talked about all the different levels of secure testing labs, and we specifically talked about. Do you remember we specifically talked about in 2014? Obama administration said no more gain of function in the United States.
Yes.
Do you know what that was specifically in response to?
I'm guessing avian flu.
H5N1 that they were fucking with.
Okay.
Majorly.
Yeah.
Let's pull up this article. I didn't realize that's what it was. I was thinking more along the lines of COVIDs and stuff like that.
Right. That's what I was thinking.
So I know they were screwing around with that, but no, this specifically came from these H5N1 scares that they had back in the early 2010s time frame. So this is from USA Today. So it's a legitimate source. It's not like some conspiracy theorist blog. It says a lab-created bird flu virus accident shows lacks oversight of risky gain-of-function research.
When did this article come out?
This came out in 2023.
Gotcha. Okay.
But this digs back.
Okay.
It starts out. I want to scroll down because I want to jump back and forth in this. I want to first talk about the scientists that created this thing.
Okay.
Let's see. It says in nature, the H5N1 virus has rarely infected humans, but when people have been sickened, usually it's through close contact with infected birds, and more than half of them have died. So it is fortunate that H5N1 virus is not capable of spreading easily from person to person. If the virus were ever to evolve in ways that gave it that ability, it could cause a devastating pandemic. And yet, in late 2011, the world learned that two scientific teams, one in Wisconsin, here in the United States, and one in the Netherlands, led by Yoshihiro Kawayaka in Wisconsin, obviously a Wisconsin name.
Sure.
And another in the Netherlands led by Ron Faucier. Does that not sound like a made-up code name?
Yes.
It's like I'm gonna go with Antoine Faucier. You think he's somehow related to Anthony Fauci, Ron Faucier?
Yeah, it seems a little familiar.
He happens to be a virologist. I'm just saying. Has potentially pushed the virus in that direction, or to make it, they intentionally were trying to make it more transmittable human to human. Each of these labs had created H5N1 viruses that gained the ability to spread through the air between ferrets, the animal model used to study how flu viruses might behave in humans. The ultimate goal of this work was to help protect the world from future pandemics.
Fucking idiots.
There is a very fine line between protecting and creating when it comes to protecting from and creating pandemics. Apparently that line, it's like razor thin line.
Yeah.
And I don't think they know exactly where the razor thin line is in the first place.
No, I don't think so.
Until after they cross and it was back there.
Oh, we weren't supposed to do that.
Oh, that was it. Oh shit, sorry. The research was supported with words and funded by guess who?
Was it Ron Faucier?
Was supported by the NIH and the NAID. The same two institutes that are supporting the research for these mRNA vaccines. But specifically, kind words from Dr. Francis S. Collins, director of the NIH, and Dr. Anthony Fauci, director of the NAID. So, that was back in 2011.
Gotcha.
Kawayaka contended it would be irresponsible not to do this study. Again, fine line between
yeah.
irresponsible and responsible.
Yeah, right.
Like
there's no possible way that this really can spread, but we should just try it just in case.
Yes. In case it did get that way, we want to see how it would get that way.
Yeah. That way we know.
It goes on to say, so he says it would be irresponsible not to study it, how the virus might evolve in nature. Some people have argued that the risk of such studies, misuse and accidental release, for example, outweigh the benefits. I counter that H5N1 viruses circulating in nature already pose a threat. So I'm going to make them more of a threat.
Right.
I mean, that just makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like they're already really deadly. What if? Like, we should study if they were to get deadlier.
Right.
I don't see how that could be a problem. Yet these groundbreaking scientific feats set off a heated international debate over the ethics of safety of gain of function, hence the 2014. And it wasn't just the study and the groundbreak. It was what came after, like the oopses.
Right.
Because there's been a few oopses that I want to talk about, which makes me wonder, is this a lab leak thing? I don't know. We'll go through the evidence, or like the oopses, and then we'll decide.
Yeah.
Concerns about the safety of biological research have taken on heightened urgency in the wake of COVID-19 pandemic and growing acceptance of the possibility that it was caused by a lab accident in China. In February, it was revealed that analysts at the U.S. Department of Energy had joined the FBI in leaning towards a lab accident as the most likely source of the pandemic, though other U.S. intelligence agencies lean towards a natural origin or are undecided. Bullshit. Let's see. The story of how the H5N1 virus came to be created and how the University of Wisconsin and Kewoka lab would later respond to a safety breach, which we'll get into, raises uncomfortable questions about the tremendous trust the world places in these kinds of labs.
No trust here.
We are trusting that every hour of every day, their layers of lab equipment, containment equipment are properly working, that all their employees are sufficiently trained, qualified, and attentive, and their written safety and incident response protocols are followed in real-life practices. When something goes wrong, we are trusting labs will immediately notify local public health officials. I think you get where this is going.
Right.
That things don't necessarily happen that way. Now, first of all, I want to point out that it was Mr. Fauci that literally said that this was one of the most dangerous viruses that exists. This one that he created that is now airborne. It can now transmit like between air from they successfully got one ferret to sneeze on another ferret, and he contracted H5N1, the deadly kind that like kills 50% of the ferret population that contracts it. So he's the one that said this is really fucking dangerous. And then all the shit that I'm about to talk about happens. And then the 2014 kind of moratorium, I wouldn't say ban, but a moratorium on gain of function research. You know, the thing that Anthony Fauci like kind of sidestepped around and sent money to
China.
Yeah. What was that like sidestep company that then they sent? Yeah. So he sent it to him, that research group, who then sent it to China.
Right.
So they weren't actually funding gain of function research.
Yeah. Not directly.
Not directly, but less indirectly. Yeah. So let's see here. Two scientists pushed this virus to spread easily from humans to humans, saying it would be irresponsible not to protect the world from the future pandemics.
Right.
Funded by the NIAID and the NIH. At what point does God just say, you did this to yourselves?
Yeah, you're too stupid to live.
Look, yes, there are these viruses that are out there, and like animals kind of wipe out some animal like that. I mean,
it's nature.
It's just nature. Like I just lit, but seriously, seriously, don't you guys have enough sicknesses of your own? You want to take the other animal sickness too?
Yeah.
I don't see. Like they say, it's to study how they would evolve so they could better fight future pandemic. Like,
but the percentage of chance that it would evolve is so slim, but they decide to go ahead and make it happen anyways, just in case.
Just in case.
Right.
So, and then if it happens, I don't know if you know this, but there's no situation where there's 100% containment.
Mm-hmm.
It's
ever.
just not. I mean, especially like there's humans involved.
Right. Yeah.
Like maybe once AI takes over, then we'll have a better shot.
Yeah.
But with humans involved, you're always going to get the lazy fucker. You're always going to get somebody that's a little bit sleepy, somebody that misread the instructions or didn't listen in the training seminars or something, or trying to impress a girl or something. You know, there's always something.
Yeah. Somebody who doesn't trust the government, so they sneak out.
Right. There's some human element that's gonna but it'd be irresponsible to not study this shit. So in 2012, so in 2011 they created this thing. And they're like, oh, this is super dangerous. We should release to the public like our findings and like the whatever, like the freaking composition or makeup that we got.
Sure.
And then people are like, no, we can't release this to the public because what if terrorists get their hands on it?
Right.
I feel like that was probably their cop-out answer to not releasing to the public. They're like, no, we can't tell the public about this. They'll make us stop doing it.
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, you're talking 2012,
right?
Like during the Obama push in like Afghanistan.
But still, after the whole, hey, Saddam Hussein has biological weapons, right?
Yeah, so they could still throw out like, you know, we can't make this public, the study public because terrorists might.
Right. Well,
terrorists in caves in Afghanistan might recreate.
But don't you think the responsible thing at that point would be, hey, we need to destroy this and all research we have?
One would think.
Instead of like, you know what, let's put this in the file cabinet just in case something happens later, right?
So 2012, they decide we're not going to go public about this. And then in 2014, they said moratorium on gain of function research. What I don't remember reading when we were talking about COVID is 4 years later, they're like, okay, yeah, let's start. Because didn't they say gain of function research has been banned since 2014?
Yeah, right.
No, apparently not, because 4 years later, they're like, okay, we're going to start this back up, specifically on this H5N1. So back in the United States, you're talking University of Wisconsin.
The fact that you said it's in Wisconsin blows my mind.
Right.
Because, I thought it was like banned from the United States.
No, it was.
Okay. China,
but then they started
Africa.
back up, but they didn't want to bring that up in 2020 because they can look back and be like, no, there's been no gain of, remember 2014, but they failed to say, like Anthony Fauci failed to say, oh, but we were allowed to start it back up in 2017, 2018, because we'd have freaking stoned him to death if that was like, they might actually catch on to what we've been doing this whole fucking time.
Yeah.
So somewhere between 2020 and now, the story has fucking changed.
Right.
Blows my mind. But now we get to find out that the story has fucking changed. Let's talk about the oopses. Some safety incidences, like what could possibly go wrong in a lab, you know,
with all these people,
like all this containment, all these precautions, like the hazmat suits, the vacuum chambers, all this shit. Like, what could possibly go wrong? Let's take a look. Let's scroll on down. Is this the one? It says in 2013, a member of the research team accidentally pierced their finger with a needle that had the engineered H5N1 virus on it, the super virus.
Right.
They're just like, now we're going to stick this needle in and get the virus from the fair. Ah, shit, I poked my... He's like, oh, look at... Like, right there. Oh, shit.
So, somebody give me the... Wait. Let's just see what happens here.
It was a moment of poor judgment. Human error around 6:30 p.m. On November 16, 2013, that set off a series of emergency calls that would eventually raise concerns in the nation's capital. An expert at the CDC told officials at Wisconsin State's health department that while the likelihood that a scientist would develop symptoms was low, the needle stick should be considered a serious exposure. So Wisconsin State contacts the CDC and they're like, hey, this guy poked himself in the finger with H5N1. Not the natural H5N1, the one that we turned into a superbug.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, there's not a great chance that it's going to develop symptoms, but you should consider this a serious exposure and treat it aggressively, it says. The chief medical officer at Wisconsin Department of Health Service told the university that the researcher would need to quarantine for 7 days and take treatment level doses of Tamiflu twice a day for 10 days. 6 months earlier, while seeking funding approval, Kawoka, the Japanese guy at Wisconsin, assured officials at the National Institute of Health, the NIH, the university has a designated quarantine apartment. So when he's seeking the approval, he's like, hey, if we need to quarantine him, we have a designated quarantine apartment here.
Put him in there, make sure he's safe, right?
But that was a lie.
Of course.
So lab officials told the researcher's family to pack up their belongings and go to a hotel.
Oh, shit.
So that was the researchers that, not the one that got poked. Her family had to go to a hotel and she went home, or he or she went home. So the family left.
Right.
She just went to her house to quarantine.
Right.
Officials in the NIH office responsible for overseeing research with engineered organisms were alarmed to learn the university didn't have dedicated quarantine facilities for such emergencies. The policy is not what was communicated to us in Dr. Kawoka's application to perform such research with mammalian transmissible strains of H5N1. A researcher's home, the NIH told the university, was not appropriate quarantine for Kawoka's high-risk studies because influenza viruses can be transmissible through the air because he made them transmissible through the air.
And something that he just didn't think of.
And do they even know, is this person in a single family home or is he in an apartment complex where it's just circulating through the fucking vents? Because this says many residences are in high occupancy buildings like apartments that share air exchange and other infrastructure. Trying to provide an explanation, university officials told the NIH there had been miscommunication between Kawoka and the university.
Bullshit.
He literally said, we have, maybe it was like the Japanese translation. They're like, he was trying to say, do we have a quarantine apartment? And they thought he said, does she have an apartment to quarantine in? And they're like, yeah, she lives in an apartment. That's fine.
Yeah.
That might have been it. I feel like maybe we should have dotted our I's and crossed our T's before doing this deadly experiment. Wisconsin officials note that the needle stick was not expected to put the researcher at high risk of infection, and this engineered virus was determined not to be mammalian transmissible strain. Well, they determined it after the fact, and after she did
Russian roulette, right?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Oh no, that was fine. We're good. No, nobody in the apartment died, so it must not have been the transmissible kind.
Maybe next time, guys.
The scientists completed the quarantine without showing symptoms or becoming ill. But even if a high-risk incident occurred with a more dangerous strain, UW officials told the NIH the lab worker would still be quarantined at home.
Yeah.
So what do you think so far about the safety precautions going on at the University of Wisconsin while they are literally fucking playing God?
Right. It seems like
they're screwing around with the existence of humanity as we know it. And they're like, oh, just go stay in your apartment.
Just go to your apartment. Don't talk to
anybody. Take some Tamiflu. Right. Everything's fine.
You'll be good.
All right. Take a look at this next one. This one's so much scarier. This is the CDC, not University of Wisconsin. This is the CDC. A mix-up with deadly H5N1 flu. Listen to this. Federal scientists may have accidentally contaminated a relatively benign avian influenza strain with the deadly H5N1 bird flu virus, in part because he or she was overworked and rushed to make a lab meeting, according to an internal report released today by the CDC. In March, the CDC sent a sample of low pathogenicity immunogenicity H9N2 bird flu virus that a lab had unknowingly contaminated with the H5N1 to a USDA lab, which discovered the mistake when the test chickens all died.
Oh, fuck.
So they sent this not deadly bird flu virus to the USDA to kind of test, like, I don't know, maybe they were developing vaccines for the chickens and just kind of like giving them like mild doses of this mild bird flu.
Yeah.
And they're like, all right, this is going to make them less susceptible to bird flu when give them the injection and they all fucking die. And then they go test the chickens like, oh, they have H5N1. Oh, and then they find that this mild vial was contaminated with this deadly vial that just got like shipped through like UPS or something like that. The CDC director, Thomas Frieden, first disclosed the incident in July at a press conference about other lab accidents. So it wasn't even like, hey guys, this thing happened.
Right.
No, back in March it happened, and then they just had this like blanket press conference of these lab accidents. They're like, oh yeah, but and then there was that one time that we accidentally sent H5N1 in a vial of H9N2, and we killed a bunch of fucking chickens.
And they all laughed and be like, yeah, that was the one.
Wait, and there's one guy that's like, wait, can you say, oh, you're talking about that time that one just like somebody spilled something. No, I'm talking about the H5N1 thing. Oh, get that guy out of here. According to the 16-page report released today, this was in 2014. So this was probably the final straw.
Yeah, right. This is the one they're like, okay,
because 2013 was the needle prick.
Right.
2014, the CDC accidentally sent this shit in the mail.
Yeah.
And killed some chickens that probably weren't under lab supervision in the first place, like lockdown at least. Yeah. And then they're like, you know what? You guys need to stop this gain of function shit until you get everything kind of squared away. 16-page report released today. The H9N2 sample probably became contaminated with H5N1 on January 17th when an experienced researcher did not follow proper decontamination or other protocols between inoculating cell cultures with the H9N2 flu strain and H5N1 using the same biosafety cabinet. The worker was being rushed to attend a lab meeting at noon and was under a heavy workload as his or her team hurried to generate data for a February vaccine meeting at the WHO. Because that's more important.
Right.
Than making sure we don't release a deadly virus to the fucking world.
Yeah. Wait, I need to just get your ass to the meeting. We don't care.
Now, does overworked and under a lot of like a heavy workload, is that a good excuse for this kind of mistake? This little mix up here?
Nobody there should be overworked.
Right. That's exactly. It's like you could say this is under as heavy a freaking protocol as possible.
Yeah.
But if you're overworking your staff.
Yeah. To the point where they're not caring about safety procedures.
Like very specific ones. They're like, oh, it doesn't matter if we decontaminate this before we put this other one. I mean, it's just bird flu, right?
Right.
It'll be fine. Says the CDC flu lab sent USDA an H9N2 sample on March 12th. The USDA lab notified the CDC of the contamination on May 23rd. The delay in reporting resulted in part from unclear CDC rules for reporting incidents with select agents.
That's ridiculous.
Like, well, we weren't sure who to tell.
Yeah, right.
That
what was the protocol?
That we almost started a global pandemic.
Yeah, right,
we just weren't sure who we're supposed to tell. Contaminated samples were also sent to another CDC lab, the report says. Workers were unlikely to have been exposed. However, because the samples were handled under enhanced biosafety level 3 conditions, which include many safety measures, such as workers wearing protective suits and respirators. The report describes new training and operating procedures to prevent further incidents, like following the existing procedure. Our new procedure is please follow the existing procedures, along with CDC-wide safety reforms already underway, including closing the flu lab. Then after this, I'm pretty sure, is when a bunch of outrage came out because the guy first came out and was like, guys, we just created like the world's most deadly flu virus. And people are like, oh shit, you probably shouldn't do that. And they're like, maybe we should stop talking about it. And then these incidents happen 2 in a row, like back to back with the same virus. And they're like, all right, we got to tell them we're closing everything down. Did they close it down? Probably not, but we got to tell them we did.
Right.
So then
let's just put it away until after Obama's out of office.
Yeah, obviously. So now, again, it wasn't reported for 6 weeks too. That's the other.
Right.
The other
yeah. I mean,
thing.
if it would have spread for 6 weeks, right?
I mean, it could have been anywhere in 6 weeks. I mean, 6 weeks wasn't like the extent of when COVID first hit the shores of freaking United States to like completely everybody's grandma supposedly dying.
Right.
I want to jump back to the USA Today one because that was 2013 and 2014. Then they shut it down. And then, like I said, 4 years later, they opened it back up. But they didn't continue conducting the gain of function research on it until 2019. Now, listen to this. I got to scroll down for this one because this is a long-ass article. I want to talk about this incident here. So, let's see. So, this incident happened. Says, when the accident happened on December 9th, 2019, Kawoka's 3 scientists were working in an enhanced biosafety level 3 agricultural lab suite at the University of Wisconsin's Influenza Research Institute. Facility has been built specifically for Kawoka's research and featured labs with negative air pressure, watertight and airtight seals, double HEPA filter exhaust air, and redundant air handling systems. The experiment they were performing involved a virus whose name described the components of its engineering. Gives that long bunch of names and numbers, letters and numbers. It says it was the virus described in Kawoka's controversial H5N1 gain of function experiments that had been published nearly 8 years earlier. The NIH would later confirm in written response to my questions. It was a virus that had gained the concerning ability to spread between ferrets and had raised fears it could do this among humans. On that December day, 2 experienced researchers. Now, first of all, gain of function research back off in 2019. So in 2018, they're like, or 2017 or something, they said, yeah, we give you the all clear, but they didn't actually get it started because they probably had to like go through all the freaking red tape to make sure everything was up to code, make sure they had quarantine apartments and all that shit.
Yeah.
Weeks later, after they started it back up, says on that December day, 2 experienced researchers from Kawoka's team were helping.
It always bothers me when they say experienced researcher because it seems like they're the ones that always fuck up.
Well, wait for it. 2 experienced researchers from his team were helping train a colleague as they collected samples from the ferrets. The animals were part of a transmission experiment and had been in contact with other ferrets infected with the engineered H5N1 virus or another wild flu strain. The 3 scientists wore several layers of PPE. One of the most important pieces of the PPE was the air purifying respirator that each wore to ensure they didn't breathe any air from inside the lab. Even though they were using a biosafety cabinet, there was always the potential for virus to be present in the room's air. These kinds of high-tech respirators encase workers' heads in a protective hood with a clear faceplate. A blower attached to a belt delivers purified air through what looks like a vacuum cleaner hose that runs up the scientist's back and attaches to the hood behind the head. Labs are responsible for training workers how to properly assemble this kind of equipment. As one of the senior researchers prepared to start collecting samples from the next round of ferrets, the trainee realized there was a problem with the respirator. The powered air purifying respirator hose had somehow disconnected from the unit that supplied the safe filtered air and instead was dangling loose in the lab's potentially contaminated air. So breather that's supposed to go down to the breathing thing was disconnected and was just like sucking in air from contamination room. Days after they were finally allowed to start this back up, this thing happens. Now, what do you think the implications would be if you went and reported this and said, oh, when the first time we start this back up, this thing happened.
They're going to close you down.
They're going to shut you the fuck down again.
Yeah.
So what do you think they didn't do?
Report it.
Says the host was immediately reconnected. Wisconsin's officials later said. Yeah. And one of the experienced researchers radioed out to the lab's operation manager as the trainee began the process of exiting the lab, incident records show. The trainee was initially told to follow the lab's quarantine procedure to keep them from spreading the virus if they were infected, which was probably go back home.
Right. Yeah.
University would later say this was done out of abundance of caution, but at some point, a lab compliance official released the worker from quarantine. So, like, out of caution, because they said the ferret wasn't just out in the open. But they said the virus could be out in the air, so they still had to wear this. So they're like, out of caution, we quarantined her, and then at some point, the official released her from quarantine. Right. Says it's unclear whether the quarantine release happened within minutes, hours, or days of the incident, nor is it clear whether university officials first consulted with any public health or oversight agency. Kawoka and university officials wouldn't agree to be interviewed. If there were ever a virus requiring that everyone follow safety and incident reporting rules, this was it. The system of oversight in place that day had been created in response to the international furor over this very virus. Yet after the trainee's respirator hose disconnected in December 2019, the university did not notify local or state public health officials about the incident or consult with them before discontinuing the trainee's quarantine. So they didn't even like reach out to the
be like, hey, just to let
NIH,
you know.
CDC, anything, and be like, all right, this thing may or may not have happened. How soon should this person be quarantined? No, they didn't, and they're just like, "Oh, you're probably fine. You can go home." It says, despite representations going back years indicating that this would occur following any potential exposure, the university says it didn't need to notify them because University of Wisconsin officials, in consultation with the university's health expert, made their own determination that no potential exposure had occurred.
Is that the school nurse?
Yeah, probably. Officials at the Public Health Madison and Dane County, the local health department, told me they defer to the university's judgment and expertise when it comes to lab safety issues. Okay, so here's the thing. The county and Madison and Dane County Public Health says, we leave that up to them because, I mean, they are like a virology school. They know probably as much as we do, and we actually look to them for a lot of our guidance anyway. So we let their judgment and expertise make the decision. Now, when it comes to fucking funding and this research that just got opened back up, should you leave that to their judgment?
Right.
When it comes to, wouldn't that be like kind of a conflict of interest? It's like, this will directly affect whether or not we can continue to do this and be funded for this. But we're going to leave that to you.
Yeah, because
to decide.
This Kowalska guy, or whatever the hell his name is.
Yeah.
He seems very much like, hey, what we're doing here is so important. We can't disrupt anything. So we got to keep this on the down low.
Right.
So people don't get freaked out.
We can't tell anybody.
Right.
And then the county and local health officials are like, well, we rely on you guys. You guys are smarter than us anyway.
Yeah.
So you make the judgment call. But the judgment call is coming from the guy that is so dependent on the funding and
that's his lifestyle.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly. The university also didn't immediately alert other key oversight entities that the public relies upon to ensure safety of this kind of particularly risky research. UW officials waited 2 months to file a report that should have been made immediately to NIH Office of Science Policy, which oversees U.S. research with genetically manipulated organisms like H5N1 engineered influenza virus. Records show the university's internal biosafety committee, which had approved the Kawoka's lab research, wasn't apprised of the December 9th incident until February 5th of 2020. The university was less slow in reporting. Yeah, they released that in February 2020. kind of like slid it in with all this COVID-19
Right,
shit. So
yeah.
we would miss that. They're like,
Yeah.
oh, while we're talking about all this freaking pandemic shit that's going on, this little incident may have happened, but nothing happened. And they're like, guys, dude, we don't have time for that shit. We're dealing with a global pandemic right now.
Well, I mean,
how fucking convenient that February 2020, they're like, oh, by the way, this little thing may have happened.
well, how do we know that the whole COVID thing wasn't this? Right? And they
Right.
just used some bat out of China as a way to cover up.
I don't fucking know. The university was less slow in reporting to NIH, which provided the grant for the controversial experiments. So they did tell the people that provided the grant.
Yeah.
And they probably covered it up.
Absolutely.
They still waited 10 days, though.
Yeah.
To report the incident to the NIAID program staff, according to information provided in writing by NIH officials. The grant's terms required immediate notification in the event of illness or exposure. Neither of the two criteria were met because there was no reasonable risk of virus exposure. There was risk, though, or they want to. If there's not reasonable risk,
yeah,
then they want to have to wear the fucking protective thing in the first place. UW officials who for months wouldn't answer questions about the incident eventually said that Kuoka informed his program officer at NIH in early December. Says both NIAID Director Anthony Fauci and NIAID Principal Deputy Director Hugh Auchincloss were briefed about the incident. The NIH said in a written response, but they would not tell me when Fauci and Auchincloss were briefed or whether they provided guidance on how the UW incident should be handled.
Hide it.
It's unclear whether Kuoka's team consulted the CDC in advance of the university's decision to release the researcher from quarantine. CDC officials, including Dr. Samuel Edwin, who heads the select agency program, didn't answer my questions. So then it goes in, it keeps going into deeper about how they waited 2 months.
Right.
It says UW repeatedly pointed to a short email from the NIH analyst thanking the university for its February 10th report and adding that actions taken in response to the incident appear to be appropriate. NIH says the email referred only to UW's biosafety actions, not the university's failure to file an immediate report. So if something really bad, like batshit crazy, happened, and this person did go home, transmit it to her apartment and transmit it to her family, and then it caused a global pandemic, we wouldn't have known about it until at least 10 days later.
Oh, no, they would have buried that shit even
Well,
deeper.
I'm just saying that the first time they reported it to the NIH was 10 days later.
Right.
CDC was much later.
Right.
And everybody else, like the state and county, was like 2 months later.
Yeah. Well,
everybody be fucked by the time they finally reported
and
it.
it's by then they would have been like, okay, I think we dodged a bullet here. Let's go ahead and let people know that we're okay. You know, that nothing happened. Right. If this would have broken out to a pandemic level event, we never would have heard about it.
My favorite response is we didn't need to notify them.
Right.
Because it wasn't bad. But you don't get to make that decision.
Right.
That's what these freaking agencies that we pay millions of dollars for are supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
Makes you wonder if it was kind of a let's see how this thing plays out.
Right. Absolutely.
You know what would be the best way to study this virus on how it works, how it transmits human to human, is let's see how this thing plays out.
No, you're absolutely right. Absolutely.
So this creator claims that this is one of the creators that claimed this is one of the most dangerous viruses known to man. And then says, and we don't need to report this.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. They play fast and loose because their priority
ask for forgiveness
is
is easier than asking for permission.
Exactly.
Like, oops. I mean, nobody's going to care that I got out once it infects everybody. They're not going to, by the time they determine how it got released, 50% of the population is probably going to be dead anyway. So we don't really need to report this.
Yeah.
So this current thing we have going around, do we think it's naturally occurring H5N1, or do we think it's this man-made shit that possibly either A, intentionally leaked, or B, there's a whole lot of fucking... I just read 3 that just popped up.
Right.
Just all you got to do is type H5N1 lab leaks, and all 3 of these pop up throughout the years. And it's just like, oh, if it's that easy to find these 3, how many other oopses have?
Right.
You remember that thing, that shit with the... Was it like monkeys that like there was a car, like a vehicle crash that was transporting lab monkeys, and the guy got his face spit on, and they immediately like quarantined him, and we're like, the fuck was that about?
Yeah, that's like how movies start.
What the hell was that about?
Yeah.
Not saying that was H5N1, but similar, like hundreds of lab incidents probably happen on a yearly basis. And hundreds.
They all have this kind of response.
It's like, well, let's not tell you, buddy.
Yeah.
Well,
let's just wait and see what happens.
See how this plays out.
Yeah.
Well, let's I mean, we don't want it to cause like mass panic by saying like the odds of this being a problem are very low.
If nothing
minimal.
happens, then we'll report it. We'll fess up. But if this breaks out, then we need to burn the lab.
Right. I don't know.
Yeah.
That just scary to me, shit. Like the hundreds of incidences on an annual basis tells me, can we just stop fucking with it? Let's figure out how to fix it after it naturally occurs. If and when it naturally occurs, then we'll fuck around with science and try to fix it.
Yeah.
But let's not create a problem just so we can create a solution for it.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, that's just big pharma at its finest. It's like, let's create this, like, you know what? Cancer's not doing a good enough job anymore.
Yeah.
Like at some point, we got to actually tell them we have a cure for cancer.
Right.
Or we just tell them that our sister company created cancer with all this shitty food that we're feeding people with. Eventually, people are going to get a little put off that we're still not curing cancer. So we got to find some other way to supplement our cancer.
Yeah.
Our cash cow over here.
Job security.
Yeah. So let's just create another problem to create another solution for.
No, that's it exactly.
We'll get paid for the research of creating the problem because it's in the name of, like, it'd be irresponsible not to create this problem.
Right.
And then we'll get paid on the backside to create the solution for this problem, which they probably already have the solution for the problem by the time they release the problem.
Right.
So what do you think? Naturally occurring in the cows and cats and shit that's going around right now, that they're like, gotta have this vaccine right now.
Yeah.
Like millions of dollars going to this vaccine. Do you think it's naturally occurring? Like, the odds of it jumping to humans not that good? Or do you think they're like, guys, we accidentally did something?
Yeah.
We're not, like, it's pretty fucking bad.
Yeah.
And eventually we're going to need that. Like, let's start working on this vaccine.
Well,
now.
yeah, the fact that they're talking about the vaccine is what's scary, right?
Derek says, so does this new deadly strain have the same DNA sequence as a strain from this lab? Well, glad you asked. According to, do you remember Dr. Peter McCullough?
Yes.
He was the guy virologist that came out against the vaccines and was like, guys, this is bad, and this is lab leak, and he just got kind of smeared all over the place. He came out with a study, as he does. How do you get rid of all these? There we go. Deny your cookies. So this is a study, an abstract from, they're citing, I know Dr. McCullough is one of them, and some other dudes. McCullough, Hulsher, Leak. It's called Proximal Origin of the Epidemic Highly Pathogenic Avian Influenza, H5N1. Now, the fact that if you look just on regular news articles, they're calling this the highly pathogenic avian influenza. I feel like for it to be the highly pathogenic, it was probably the fucked with one, because it wasn't really, except amongst birds, it wasn't really a contagious thing. So here, this is just a little bit from his study. I'm not saying this is true or not, but he's a lot smarter than me.
Right.
And he seemed to hit the nail on the head back during COVID. We investigate the possible lab origins of the highly pathogenic avian influenza H5N1 code 2.3.4.4b genotype B313, currently affecting various animal species and causing sporadic human infections. The first detection of the HPAI, or the highly pathogenic blah, blah, blah. HPAI is another word for that. The first detection 2.3.4.4.b in the Netherlands in 2020 raises concerns about earlier gain of function research. The proximal origins of the HPAI H5N1 may be the USDA Southeast Poultry Research Laboratory in Athens, Georgia, and the Erasmus Medical Center in Rotterdam, Netherlands. Genetic analyses indicates that the genotype B3.13 emerged in 2024 and exhibits genetic links to genotype B1.2, which was identified to have originated in Georgia in January 2022 after the start of serial passage research with H5NX blah, blah, blah in mallard ducks at the USDA Southeast Poultry Research Lab. So that's saying this thing that we're finding, we did some genetic analyses on this type here that emerged in 2024, and it exhibits genetic links to this strain that was in fact created at the CDC lab in Georgia. It says genotype B1.2 was found in bottlenose dolphins in March 2022 in Florida, indicating sudden new adaptations to different animal species. The NP gene of H5N1 clade 2.3.4.4b, which is causing outbreaks in cattle, was reportedly to have likely originated from the avian influenza A virus derived from mallard ducks. Significant mutations found in the recent human cases, including that code there and that code there, I'm not going to read them all, also suggests links to serial passage experiments. However, further investigation is urgently needed to confirm these findings and identify the H5N1 laboratory leaks that may have occurred, with a focus on mallard ducks and other migratory waterfowl, which have potential to infect a large number of poultry and livestock facilities around the world. A moratorium on gain-of-function research, including serial passage of H5N1, is indicated to prevent a man-made influenza pandemic affecting animals and humans. All that to say is, this one we're finding here in the cattle has a lot of links to this man-made one in Georgia.
Right.
This one down here that we found in a bottlenose fucking dolphin matches these ones that came from mallard ducks, which match the one that they were experimenting on mallard ducks in the Netherlands or something like that. So he is saying, yes, Derek, in fact, the deadly strain does have some of the same DNA sequences as some of the lab strains, according to Dr. McCullough, who's a lot smarter than me.
Yes.
So there's a good chance, yes, this one going around that is highly, what did they call it? Highly pathogenic avian influenza was probably leaked out of a lab intentionally or unintentionally.
Right.
Maybe from a finger prick, maybe from accidentally mailing it to the wrong place, maybe from forgetting to attach your hose.
Right.
Or all the other instances that they won't tell us about.
Exactly. As lax as their security protocols are, yeah, it's a good chance that it's from a lab. It's man-made.
Right. So, I don't know if it's intentional or if they're just playing with freaking fire, but does it really matter?
No,
no, it doesn't. At the end of the day, when 50% of humans are wiped out by this fucking thing, the other 50% are probably wiped out from the thing that they made to fix it.
Right.
Does it matter if it was intentional release or playing with one way or another? We screwed around with nature, tried to make this thing because it'd be irresponsible to not.
Right.
And we wreaked havoc across humanity.
Yeah.
After that many people die, who freaking cares how it got out?
Yeah. All in the name of science.
Potentially a 50% death rate.
Right.
At least that's what it is in birds, 50%. It's like, at what point do we not just put a moratorium on, like just say stop,
Yeah,
just
fucking
stop
stuff.
doing it. Like, I feel like people are gonna have to go to these places. Just, I don't know. Let's just start breaking kneecaps or something of scientists that want to fuck around with this shit.
Yeah.
No, I'm not an advocate.
Well, they
of
should
violence.
be brought up on charges.
Yeah,
you know,
something. I don't care what. Like, you could have all the best intentions.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. Like,
the
how
road to hell is paved with intentions.
Right. Well, they're saying, well, the benefits outweigh the risk. Well,
no, I disagree. I disagree because
when it comes to like now, I feel like the majority of humanity is saying that COVID was, in fact, a lab leak from this gain of function research. And I think there's probably some ample evidence to show that this bird flu strain was probably caused. It's like, at what is your determination of whether the risk outweighs or the benefit outweighs the risk?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how many people got to die before you think that, hey, the risk kind of outweighed the benefit in this situation.
Right. I mean, because you're creating unnatural pathogens now.
Right.
Right. And so things that would not naturally occur in nature, but you're saying that you have to create these things just in case they would occur in nature. So you're jumping the gun.
Yeah.
And creating a problem that doesn't need to be there.
It's like, we want to see if it was to jump to nature, we want to see how it's going to jump to nature so we can predict how it's going to jump into nature. And oops, we accidentally just jumped it into nature.
Right.
That's how we did it. We said we were studying to predict how it would. Yeah. That was how us fucking around with it. That was how.
Yeah.
We research done. Research complete. We know how it will do it. As humans are going to screw with it.
Yeah.
I don't know. When does the next pandemic happen, Bill?
I mean, I think we're going to see more and more of this. Honestly.
Obviously. I mean, it's not just the COVID virus, because they're screwing around with all kinds of COVID viruses. Now they're screwing around with all kinds of or bird flu
we're going to
viruses.
have an annual pandemic now. You know, I mean,
we gotta, and then they're gonna peg it on climate change but climate change caused like mass migration, which caused like mutation of the viruses and more like exposure to blah blah blah, and that causes fire. When in reality, it's we just we're screwing around with viruses to see what we could come up with. We were playing with them like we play with Legos and seeing what we can make.
Yeah.
How much faith do you have in this new vaccine? This
none
highly effective vaccine.
Yeah, right. No, none. I don't have any faith in any of this CDC. I mean,
well, the same
the
people,
whole fucking medical community,
the same people that are funding, hey, we got to create this vaccine just in case, are funding the creation of this virus.
Yeah. The big pharma, I mean, the whole fucking institution of it. I have no faith in it. I don't want to have anything to do with any of it.
So what do we do? Just ride out the next pandemic? Because I don't think the next pandemic is going to be like a scam.
No,
like
no.
Like a common cold, common flu.
And we talked about this, that we felt like the COVID was build up for the next thing.
See how we would respond to it. And the next one comes up. Maybe COVID was to actually, maybe it was to do the opposite. Instead of scaring us into, maybe it would just be like, yeah, they said that last time, like the boy who cried wolf, and then we just kind of let our guard down, and it just wipes us all the fuck out. It's like population control worked this time.
And guess what? You took out all the right wingers that don't trust the government.
Right. They're like, this next time we're actually going to release a vaccine.
Right.
But we don't want the anti-government types left. So we're going to make them not trust the vaccine. Yeah. So when we actually release a vaccine for an actual pandemic, they don't take it.
Right. And then guess what? We don't have to worry about them.
Right. They're like, it worked with the blacks.
Yeah, right.
I mean, we sat there.
And the Native Americans. And,
we made them lose all trust in vaccinations by experimenting on them for the last 100 years. So, I mean, We don't have to. They're going to get wiped out, most likely.
Yeah.
The Native Americans are going to get wiped out. Now we just got to get rid of all the freaking rednecks.
Yeah.
And we'll be golden.
Yeah. Now we got then we can just throw them in our smart cities. No one's going to question jack shit.
Exactly. It's all coming together so
Yeah.
nicely. I don't know. But what's more important is Hunter Biden got convicted
Right.
of crackhead gun charges.
Yeah.
We should be focusing more on that than the
Right.
fact that our own government is financing the creation
Yeah.
of the most dangerous viruses
Yeah.
in the planet.
In country, no less.
But their safety protocols are fine.
Right. Yeah.
Like, we don't have to worry about anything. Remember, what was it, like a few years back, that they just found like smallpox in a fridge?
Yes.
Remember that? And
Yeah.
they're just like, oh, we just
Yeah.
discovered there was like vials of smallpox sitting in here.
Yeah.
We don't know what it's from or why, like what they were doing with it. We don't experiment with smallpox.
Right. Yeah.
Like,
That's crazy
I
talk.
told you to not label that smallpox.
Yeah.
You couldn't come up with a better code than Paul Smocks. It's like, come on. I don't know. I don't know what I think about all this.
It's just stupidity.
It's terrifying.
arrogance.
It's very terrifying.
Yes. It's arrogance. It's, hey, we're smart. We know what's going on. And then this shit.
I feel like Michael Crichton just offed himself because he's just like, all my books are
He's like,
fucking
how many fucking books do I have to
it's
write?
like all my books are coming true.
Yeah.
And well, he realized that they were just reading his books and like, that's a good
Hitting
idea.
ideas, right?
That's a great
Let's
idea.
do that.
What if we do send a space probe up and gather a virus from outer space? Because
Right.
we don't even have to make it in the lab.
Yeah.
It's going to wipe out all these people.
Yeah.
Like, what would happen if we created dinosaurs? I don't know. It's a mess. It's a joke.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's scary.
It is.
We're probably going to end up getting vaccinated through our hamburgers anyway.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I guess ride it out, I guess.
I mean, what else can you do?
Yeah.
Right.
If they don't trust us, let's just wipe them out with a virus.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's all I got for all this. You got anything else? This has gone way longer. Well, we wasted like the first 20
Well,
minutes.
yeah,
but-
we were trying to figure out sounds.
yeah,
so.
but it's gone on way longer than I thought it would.
So
Final
you know.
thoughts. Final thoughts on Hunter Biden.
Final thoughts on Hunter Biden. You know, again, it's a
He's
smoke
probably
show.
patient zero.
Yeah, right.
He is the virus.
Yeah, seriously. No, it's a smoke show. You know, it's just meant to distract and also kind of deflect any real charges from him and
Yeah.
his dad.
Final
So,
thoughts on the screwing around with
again,
viruses.
this just shows, you know, this is it's a habit. It's not, you know, COVID was not a one-off. This is standard operating procedures.
this
now.
is the new normal.
It is the new normal. Absolutely.
I mean, that's all I got. Tell us what you think about this. Are you scared of H5N1? Are you scared of the new mRNA vaccine? Are you scared of crackhead Hunter Biden? Tell me what's scarier. You can find us all over the web, the social medias on the web, at our handle at Break the Bell Pod. Hit us up, leave us a message. The comment section is always open. I think our forum still exists. I know we
does.
got a couple
Yeah.
strikes on it, and we don't even use it that much
I know,
anymore. So
I
I
know.
don't know how we're still getting strikes on it, but
Because people comment shit that gets
Yeah.
us strikes.
I guess we'll probably get kicked off for this one.
Yeah, seriously.
They're just gonna
Because the
preventatively-
vaccine never worked. It kills people.
yes, they
And
are creating viruses to
take us
implement
out.
population control.
Absolutely.
So we might as well just go hard in on it. And Jared Kushner is the most the shadiest.
And let's face it, Israel's behind it all.
Probably. That's it. We're done. That's it. I mean, it's been
Thanks
a good
for
run,
coming.
guys. It's been a good run. We are the virus of the Break the Bell podcast. Have a great rest of your week. We'll try to be back next week sometime. You said
I'm in Alabama next Monday.
so we might not be back next week. We'll
Yeah.
be back at some point
yes.
if we're not taken back out by a deadly virus or the people that run the world.
Right.
Have a great rest of your week. We'll catch you next time.
Peace.
Goodbye.
The Break the Bell podcast is brought to you by you. So pat yourself on the back because without you, we would be talking to ourselves. A special thanks to our Patreon members, Justin Zielinski, Remzo Martinez, Stephanie Parker, and T.O. Jacobson. A shout out to our sponsors, Run Your Mouth Coffee, the On the Run podcast, and Goulash Media. If you'd like to help support us, visit patreon.com/breakthebell or buy our garbage at breakthebell.bigcartel.com. Get back here next week and let us continue to invade your ear holes. And as always, never stop talking.